me try and cut away with some money. The gorilla stole 6.8 million naira. And then the termites got really, really angry. And just very recently in 2022, termites specifically targeted documents that showed how an expenditure of 17 billion went down. That is the country we live in. Should we talk about the oil theft and how it has affected our economy? We're now down to about 900,000 barrels per day. Now, according to OPEC, I think Nigeria's quota for the number of oil barrels we need to produce is about 1.8 million barrels. And we are barely struggling to produce up to 1 million. Or should we talk about education? According to world statistics, Nigeria has the highest number of out-of-school children. About 20% of the entire world's statistics for out-of-school children comes from Nigeria. About 10.5 million children are out of schools. I'm pretty sure that when some of us were driving down to this particular venue, you might have seen some of those kids trying to clean your windscreen. Some of us even drive away without giving them money. If you're one of those people, please change. They're not supposed to be cleaning your windscreens. They're supposed to be in school. Thankfully, the federal government and ASU, they've reached an agreement, and the students will go back to school on the 17th of October after almost 8 months, or more than 8 months of strike. I don't even know if some of those students can remember their matriculation numbers. I know of a geology student right now. He's a family man. And I'm not even making jokes because he got 2 girls pregnant. Now he has to start an extended family when he's supposed to be in school. There is so much going on wrong in this country. Should we talk about power? Should we talk about insecurity? The list goes on and on and on. And as much as this is failed to take up their mantle, the highest office in the land is not the office of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The highest office in the land is the office of the citizen. And 64% of the citizens we're talking about, the Nigerian people, are youths. In fact, some people would argue that 70% of Nigeria's population are under 30 years old. So we actually undoubtedly are the driving force of this economy. We have had instances where the youth had to come together and said, enough is enough. We did it with police brutality, and we saw the results. However challenging those results might be. But we cannot deny something. There has been progress. Thankfully, in 2018, His Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, passed the Not Too Young to Run bill. And then we saw an increase in the number of young people running for elective offices. However, so much more needs to be done. Because beyond running for elective offices, we also need to have high participation in how governance is run. We need to have high participation in holding our leaders accountable, down to the local government ward. Everybody's focusing on who becomes the next president of Nigeria, but nobody's focusing on who is going to be the next councillor, who is going to be the next House of Rep member, who is going to be the next senator. These are issues that we need to come together and actively look into. And we have amazing, well-seasoned, and well-placed young people that are here to talk to us about it. Let us all brainstorm. Let us all put our hands together. Let us all rub our minds together and see how we can take this country to the next level. It's not just about the 2023 elections. The decisions we take daily will affect our future. Let's start making those good decisions now. Without further ado, to also give us the clear-cut direction on how this symposium is going to go, I'd like to make welcome the Chief Executive Officer, Red for Africa, Mr. Ayodeji Razak. Please a round of applause as he comes on stage for his opening speech.
It's still morning. Good morning, everyone. So you mentioned, before we started, I heard someone mention the second verse 2 of the national anthem. And in the national anthem, there's a particular line that is very pertinent to what we are doing here today. It's stanza 4. It says, help our youths the truth to know. At RED, which is the mother body for the Future Project, one of the things that we like to do at RED, or say at RED, is that we are very youth-centric, and we are constantly looking for ways to speak the voice of the youths. This project, the Future Project, is one of our tools that we use to constantly communicate these desires and these goals. How can we as young people take governance by the horn and do it right? The fund powering this is NED, the National Endowment Fund for Democracy. One of our projects there is the Your Vote, Your Voice. Especially around this election cycle, I'm sure you've heard a lot of people talk about how your vote is your voice. This symposium is our opportunity and our own platform for us to say to you and for us to sit with the people who are changing our futures and determining our tomorrow, the young people, is to sit with them and say, how best can we do it? You would hear from a lot of the panelists and people that are going to be here today talk about people, power, and politics. You would hear panel, and I'm excited because even in the back room where I was, some of the conversations we're having are talking about how we're going to move the country forward. I do hope that at the end of this symposium, we would have been able to ignite and spark something that would change and lead a lot of the young people here to go and do amazing things, especially around this election cycle. We have to get it right. And it starts with conversations like this. I'm excited. I hope you are too. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Please, one more time, can we give our CEO, Red for Africa, a round of applause? All right. As you all know, the theme is people, power, and politics. By show of hands, how many of us have our PVCs, to be honest? By have, I mean you've collected your PVC, not like you've registered. So by show of hands, how many of us have our PVCs? Be proud. Just take it up. Fantastic. I think that's over 60% of the people in this room. How many of us have applied but have not collected their PVCs? Wow, that's really impressive. Then how many of us do not have at all? It's fine. It's okay. We're here for you. All right. Is there any reason? Are you old enough to vote? So is there any particular reason? Did you face any hassle? You couldn't collect? What's your reason? It's okay to talk. Feel free. I'm your guy.
No, the few times I went, I could not get it.
The few times what?
The few times I went, I couldn't get it.
You couldn't get your PVC?
Yeah. I'll be registered, sorry.
You couldn't register. Why? The queue was too long?
Yeah.
So you couldn't stay there morning till night?
No,
You don't love your country that much?
I was very engaged also.
Pardon?
I was very engaged. I'm just becoming politically engaged.
Okay.
So
okay. And
I
we
don't
trust
know
you
if
will
I
do
love my
better.
country so
We'll do
much,
better.
but-
Please, a round of applause for him. I'm glad that we're winning over people like him. What's your name, sir? Huh? Temi. Can I call you Temi? Okay, so you see, this is why we need to have events like this. This is why we have to foster conversations. If you're an influencer in this room, by the way, big ups to what Anto is doing on social media. Every single day I wake up, I go on Instagram. She's like, get your PVC. Have you gotten your PVC? Even though half of the time I can't hear what she's saying because of her American accent. But I know, I know she urges us every single time to get our PVCs. And we can do it in our own little way. We can do it on our WhatsApp statuses, Instagram status, Reels. We have a lot of young people, and I think INEC has received an unprecedented registration from young people. A lot of young people had to register even though last minute, yeah? But this is why we need to make sure that we actually take the future in our own hands. It's not just enough to sit back and talk, okay? We have to take actions. Okay, please also feel free to post the pictures that you've taken outside on Instagram and different platforms, and also as The event is going on. If it wouldn't distract you, you can also tweet about what's going on. So in fact, can we just do something, right? Can we all bring out our phones? Just bring out our phones. Go on Twitter. Just say something nice. Oh, the event has started. Just anything. My neighbor is looking good. If you aren't here, what did Jesus say? You're missing. Oh, we're about to make Nigeria better. Get your PVC. But whatever you're tweeting, just make sure you use the hashtag TFPS in capital letters. That is TFPS Symposium. But the T, F, P, and S has to be in caps. So TFP Symposium 2022. The T and the F and the P and the S will have to be in caps. So technically you would type TFPS and then Yimposium. That's wrong English, but you get my point. 2022, okay? Let's just get the conversation going. Let's get it started. Okay, I'm going to give us about 5 seconds to do that. Thank you very much. All right. And send. Yes, we need to make sure that we get on the trend table. Not because we want a trend, but because we want a lot of people to join this conversation via our live stream and also to follow the conversation via the social media updates so we can reach out to more people. All right. So second question, who can remember what we were taught was the definition of democracy in school? Anybody? I crammed that definition so many times that I can say it anytime, any day. Just when they get the mic to you, you can say your name and help us define what we were taught was democracy.
Democracy is basically the power for the people. And according to Abraham Lincoln, democracy is the power for the people. Democracy is the power of the people, by the people, and for the people.
Okay. Please a round of applause for her. Who else wants to attempt?
Democracy is a system of governance.
Is it possible you introduce yourself first? Okay. My name is Mark.
My name is Ibrahim.
Okay, go ahead.
Democracy
please.
is a government by the people, for the people, and of the people.
Government
by the people, for
by
the
people,
for the people, and of the people.
Which one comes first? Is it for the people or of the people? Which one?
I did it alphabetically, so it's by the people, for the people, and of the people.
Okay. Let's have a final one. I know the mic. Let's try and get from. We need to practice equity and justice, and it starts from evenly spreading the resources. Fantastic. Just give anybody that raised their hand there. Okay,
Hi.
Just introduce yourself first.
Hi, I'm Fatima. Democracy is a grassroots government that allows for free and fair election and equity.
Okay, that's also correct. So, most popular definition is government of the people, by the people, and for the people. That is what we were taught. I think that definition works just a few months before elections, and after then, it becomes the government of the politicians, by the people, and for the politicians. Right? And that is why conversations and symposiums like this is really important, because we need to understand how we can harness the power of the people so that our elected officials, the people in government, will be able to recognize that we have an active citizen, so we cannot afford not to make things work. The people is way stronger than any government. If we can harness our power, our collective power as Nigerian citizens, I personally think that even if you have a bad leader, if the people hold that particular bad leader accountable, the bad leader would have no choice than to do the right thing. And like I said earlier, it's not just about the president. Down to, do you know that some local government chairmen are tasked with the responsibility of even fixing some of the potholes, fixing some of the roads in their constituencies? Even down to the councillor has a constitutional stipulated role. But it looks like all the attention is targeted towards the center. One man cannot fix Nigeria. And it's very important that people understand, because it's so easy to blame the president. It's so easy to blame the number one man or the number one man in an entity. But how active are we as citizens? How have we harnessed our power as Nigerian youths? So these are questions we really need to ask ourselves. We hope that at the end of this symposium, we'll be able to dive deeper into probable strategies and solutions for good governance, politics, and popular participation. Emphasis on popular participation. The notion that politics is meant for the elites should be totally erased. It is not meant for a certain few. I was having a conversation with one of my friends, and I told him that I believe so much in Nigeria, and he said he also believes in Nigeria. I said I believe in the future of Nigeria. He said he also believes in the future of Nigeria, but he thinks that future is in Canada. Do you know the amount of people that have left this country? The Japa syndrome. If everybody, quote and unquote, Japas, who are you leaving the country to suffer? No. And you think it's so easy? I have somebody, for the past 9 months, this person is a certified engineer. For the past 9 months, he relocated to the UK. He has been working at the old people's home. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with doing that, but that was not his passion. That is not his qualification. That is not what he wanted to do with his life. But he is a second-class citizen in the UK. That is not his country. Not have any rights at all. At least up until he becomes a citizen of that particular country. I mean, it looks glamorous. Oh, let's go to Canada. Let's go to the US. Migrating to such places also comes with, a certain level of challenges. So if you feel like you cannot face the challenges here in this country, you're also going to face challenges in other countries. Now, there's what we call citizenship by investment. Even people that are rich enough are now by investing in other countries, are buying citizenship. But how many people can afford to do that? And you eventually buy your citizenship in another country, it doesn't change the fact that you're still a second-class citizen. Even if not by paper, by the color of your skin. If you've traveled a lot, you will see the subtle racism. It might not be in plain sight, but it happens. What am I trying to say? We do not have any other country to call our own aside from Nigeria, so we have to fix it. And the people that are tasked with that responsibility, majorly, are the youths. Why? Because we are the majority. If we do not fix it, our fathers and our mothers, with due respect, they have done what they can or what they could in their own capacity. Now we need to do better. Now we need to consolidate on their efforts. Now we need to accelerate that change and make sure that that change gets home. Okay, we're going to be having 3 panel sessions. The first panel session is on young people and the politics of money in Nigeria. We're going to delve into that because a lot of people say without money, you cannot run for certain elective offices. So we're going to delve into that. Also, we'll have the second panel session, Let Us Imagine Nigeria, a new blueprint for the future. And then finally, we're going to be talking about raising the bar for political participation in Nigeria's 2023 elections. This might just be the last opportunity to fix this country. And it's very, very important that all hands must be on deck. But first, I'd like to ask us to kindly turn our attention to the multimedia screen, because it's just one. Please turn your attention to the multimedia screen for a very short, informative film.
This country is sharp. Bad road, insecurity, no lights, missing money. People they rush this as if na refugee dem be. Bread don cost. Even minimum wage no fit help person for body. Wetin dem mean again na? Shey this country fit better like this?
My brother, you don't see am. Our country be like old man who get sense. The ones that are meant to help us have held us hostage. Leaders have only look after their own bellies after splitting themselves into those offices. Our fellow human beings pretend not to see our pain. The cries of Nigerians continue to fall on deaf men and women. See, this Nigeria looks better.
Did your mothers not teach you that there is power in it all? This message that you are preaching will birth nothing more than mystery and confusion. There is still hope here. Slow progress is progress. Rome was not built in it.
Old man, we will rest. Which progress? Maybe we know they deceive ourselves. We have no future. Take a look at our system of education. This country is frowning on you to frustration. What joke will they do?
And what have you done to remedy the situation? On election day, it is your kind that stay home and snore away, and those with wisdom go to the polls to cast their vote for better days.
This same election, where ballot boxes develop legs and wonder of. Higher talks go around to force people to conform. Every man is convinced that a member of their own tribe should rule the nation, whether or not they have the qualification. One day we can go for this conversation.
But these are the realities of building a nation. Play your part. Little drops of water make a mighty ocean. Nigeria can be better if we all come together to find a solution.
Nigeria will be better.
Over 60 years. We're looking to show for it. Everything in this country is a test of faith. National cake, japa. So we will be left when everything has been eaten and everybody has gone away. Is it possible that our country was a mistake? Every step may be difficult, but when there is a will, there is a way. Our country can be better. We have power when we stand together. The sleeping giants will rise one day. We are the change that we need.
Amazing. I think that short film deserved a better round of applause. Well done to the red team. Okay. Sorry for breaking transmission. All right. Without further ado, riding on that momentum, we would like to quickly go into the first panel session. I'd like to invite the moderator who in turn introduce all the panelists. He is the Senior Program Manager, Order People. Please let's make welcome Temidayo Taiwo Siddiq.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I would like to very quickly introduce the panelists that will be joining me on this panel. First, we have from Elect-R. We'll talk more about Elect-R as the program goes on. The Arts and Special Projects Lead, Antoleke. Please, let's put our hands together. We also have on this panel Khadija Okuno-Lamidi, social impact entrepreneur and presidential aspirant, Social Democratic Party. Please, you can do better. And we have Dayo Israel, the only man on the panel, apart from myself, National Youth Leader of the All Progressives Congress. If he's not here, I believe he has a representative. Apologies, I didn't get that name, but I'm told he's being represented by someone from the Lagos State. Please put your hands together for him. All right. Just before we go straight into the panel, I want to ask members of the audience, is there anyone here who served as a delegate in the last primaries? Or by their faces, we shall know them. Anyone who served as a delegate, maybe by mistake, or something from delegate, reach your hand. Anyone? All right. We want to talk about, over the next 40 to 45 minutes, I want to talk about the young people in Nigeria and the role of money politics. So I would like to start from, let me start to my right. Anto, you work with Elect-R, and Elect-R, we know, is an organization that is committed to advancing the inclusion of women in politics and public life. Now, given the work that your organization does, I'd like to find out from you, how significant is money politics in Nigeria? To what degree, really, is money politics important to the success of anybody who wants to go into politics?
Good morning, everyone. When it comes to politics globally, money matters. I think we need to be honest. We shouldn't form funky here. I think we need to be very honest that to enter politics, you must have money. Even on the basic level of local government chairman, it costs money to put fuel in your car to go from ward to ward, neighborhood to neighborhood, community to community. So money is important in politics. I think what the issue is where the money is coming from and who they're giving the money to and how the money is moving about. I think that's the issue of when we say money, money politicking in Nigeria. I just recently started with Elect-R, and like he said, we are working towards the advancement of better representation of women in public life. As we know, Nigeria is probably 50% or more women. However, National Assembly is less than 5%. So we're working to ensure that if you have so many women in the country, we need more women that are working towards the benefits of us. And, of course, the benefits of the world, because we know women really rule the world, obviously. So, yes, it matters. And part of the reason that we don't have enough women in office is because of this money politics. It costs a lot of money to run for office, run a campaign, to even dress up. it costs a lot of money. So that is why Electa is working hard to ensure that we're able to not, besides even raising the funds, also providing the education and the empowerment and support for women who want to run for office and also women who want to vote. We also notice that not as many women go out to vote as well. So it's important that we all do our best to ensure that we make this change. And we do know that finances is one of the major issues behind that. So that is why Electa works very hard to try and raise funds for women. And even still, when we talk about politics, people are not really interested. And that's kind of where some of the issue is. Right now, when you look at politicians, they're people who already have money. So it's a little bit easier for them to go about and do their thing. So the young people who might want to run don't really have money. And their fellow person doesn't want to donate to their campaign either. So that's what causes a lot of the issues that I think when people say money, politics, and what happens. But I think, first and foremost, we need to be very honest and understand that to run for office, it will cost money. That is a fact. I don't think the money is going to really reduce. The issue here is if you're giving a delegate some money at midnight. So.
All right, thank you very much. So one thing you said a lot, but one thing I want to really resound, and I want to make sure that I got you rightly, is that money plays a huge role in how you become successful in politics or your political career. But you are concerned more about who you are giving the money to, how you are raising this money, what source are you getting the money from, and then to what extent is money driving probably your values or something. I believe that's what you say. All right, a round of applause for her, please. All right, I will move to you, Khadija. So, 30-year-old parliamentarian Anthony Enaro in 1953, he moved the motion for Nigeria's independence. And many of us in this room must have heard or read that many of our leaders now, we can say most of them, at least 70% of them, they first came to the national scene, national prominence, when they were young people, including the current president. At the first instance, when he was military head of state, he was in his 40s. And then we can go on and on, the Obasanjos of this world and so many others. But it will seem like today it's a totally different ball game. I want to find out from you, are we dealing with money politics as a necessary evil? You heard what she said. Are we dealing with it as a necessary evil, or just maybe it's economic reality staring us in the face? I'll come to something about nomination forms, which contributes largely to money politics. But I asked the question about economic realism because I remember that the APC, for example, when they got the backlash that how can your forms go for 100 million naira when you are in a country where people live barely under 500 naira a day, many persons. And so one of the things they said that forms also have to reflect economic realities. So to tailor this down again, Khadija, what is your thought about this? Is money politics, based on the background I've given, is it a necessary evil? Or perhaps we're just dealing with facing economic realities?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having me here. I do believe that money politics is a thing that is real. However, it's not as important as people make it. I think it's very important. We're here to shed light on the realities. One of the reasons why I ran for office and I'm still in the political space is to understand the intricacies that go with running and the pathway into power. A lot of things are said, a lot of mystical things are put forward. Now I need you to understand as youth that the water is not that deep. It is made muddy. It looks muddy, just so you think it's deep. It is not that deep. That first, I want you to take that and just take it to the bank because I've been through the process. Now, running for office, going for the top job is because we needed to get our attention. That is the office that holds the highest awareness in Nigeria. And if we're going to start getting people who are accountable from councillor level all the way up, we need to catch our attention. We need to find a way to speak about these things. That's two. The third one is that I ran for office, and I can tell you today that I did not pay for my form. I know many people feel that that's not possible, but there are options. We are looking at only 2 parties. All attention, media attention is placed on 2 parties. And the 2 parties have created an entry barrier of 100 million or whatever million, but there are other parties. There are 18 parties in Nigeria. Many of them give youth tickets for free. As a woman, you get a ticket for free. I got my ticket for free as a woman under the Social Democratic Party. There are parties that give these opportunities, but we are not looking at them. If we all go into where you are, where you think that you can serve the right purpose, and we all go, this thing is about, and there was someone who said something about politics is not for the elite. I beg to differ. It is for the elites. The elites are not the wealthy. They are not the richest in society. The elites are the people who want to progress and push the needle of the society forward. Those are the people who are elites in your society. They're not the rich people. So you have to get the mindset of being an elite. That means you are curious in your mind, you want to improve your surrounding, and you want to improve the lives of people around you. That is elitism. Not buying the newest cars, not dressing extravagantly. That is not what elitism is about. So there are different parties that offer you that if you go there and you want a ticket, you know what you want to do. But also you have to be popular. You have to engage in your communities. You have to know that you can go to different homes and say, hey, look, I'm running for councillor. I'm running for chairman. And then as youth, we cannot follow political parties because of what you're going to gain in your pocket. Oh, this person is running. Okay, I'll join their campaign. It doesn't work like that. In every other country, when someone comes to you and says, hey, I'm running for councillor, you're going to say, there are 2 things you can do. You can either run, because this person is going to need money. They're going to come and ask me for money. So you can either run or you can either support the person. And supporting means supporting with money. So when you say it's politics of money is important, yes, because people have to contribute. If you believe in the person's candidacy, you have to contribute, and that's how people raise money for elections. So it's not a situation. The reason why they keep us where we are is that they know you are after the money. And the truth about it is they give you the money, but they need your skills. They need your numbers. So who is doing the work at the end of the day? You are, for paper, because it is the skills that is worth value. So if we all get together, the people who are in the media, the people who have strategy, the people who have the will to align and mobilize, you get things done on your own. I ran a presidential campaign. My team were people who went to Our Lady of Apostle, guys from Igbobi College, guys. Nobody was Cambridge and Harvard trained. They were all thoroughbred Nigerians. And we ran a presidential campaign that people from China, people from Australia were calling us. So that means there's nothing we cannot do. There's absolutely nothing that we cannot achieve.
All right. Thank you very much, Khadija. I'm still going to come back to your presidential campaign. But let me quickly get to the other man in the room. Apologies again. Damilola Emmanuel, Managing Director of the Lagos State Waterways Authority. Please, let's put our hands together for him since I've introduced him properly. All right. I know that you are not the APC National Youth Leader, but you would pardon us. We'll just want to rub a little around that area. Now, the person you are representing, Dayo, is perhaps the first Nigerian around 35 to have been, should I use the word privilege, but the first person at that age to be able to, that was able to occupy the driver's seat for youth mobilization and youth interest in the ruling, the governing All Progressives Congress. Now, when you go to the other party, the People's Democratic Party, we're also seeing for the first time someone of 25 years old winning the seat for National Youth Leader. This was not even a case of consensus or somebody stepped down. He actually won that seat. Now, the question I want to ask, given these 2 antecedents, what would you say has happened? Do you think that we finally found young people who could beat the money bags to their game for Dayo to have emerged, and then for the other guy in the PDP to have emerged, do you think we found young people who could beat politicians to their game? Or what different thing did he do, Dio now, did he do to have been able to achieve this feat? Maybe young people want to learn for that.
Okay, thank you very much. It's a privilege to be here. So let me use Dio as a typical example. And by the way, Dio just called me yesterday night at 8 p.m. Because he couldn't make it last minute, and he said if I could stand in for him, and I happen to have a bit of a free morning. So if you know Dio, right, and Dio was a typical example because I worked quite closely with Dio when he was still in Lagos State, when he was in SUBEB, which is the education body in Lagos State. Dio is passionate about anything he's doing. Let's leave party sentiments or whether if you're in this party or that party. Dio as a person is an example of any youth that anybody should want to emulate, because if you give Dio a task, Dio takes it 100%. He's focused on that task. He looks for the best way to do that task, and he finds a way to carry everybody along. I give an example. Dio was in education, was in SUBEB, I mentioned, and it had to do with primary schools. And I work in the waterways. And I said, Dio, you know what? We realized that a lot of people in Lagos, in as much as we're surrounded by water, are afraid of water because they can't swim. I said, okay, we have a program called the Water Savvy Kids, where we're now taking the swimming culture to the public schools, because private schools generally train their kids on how to swim, but the public schools don't have that. Let's take that to the schools. Dio jumped on it, we ran with it, and we were able to take that to about 5 schools within the Ojo axis. Now I went to that venue with Dio, with those kids, and immediately we saw those kids. I could feel the energy, because the first thing Dio started to do was sing songs I'd never heard in my life before. And these kids were immediately enamored to him, and they just wanted to be around him, and they could see that, look, this is someone we can look up to. And what he was able to tell them was, look, this thing is possible. And within 5 days of training those kids, they were able to learn how to swim. Right? And it's something where we continue. So for me, it's a thing of, I don't think it's anything new. It's just that once you're given the platform as a youth, right, make sure you give it your very best. There's already that thing of you're young. Make sure you have the energy, you have the innovation, you have the way to think, you have a lot of networking to do, but make sure you give it your very best. I mean, I've been in LASWA for 7 years, transitioned 2 governments. It's not because I'm the best. It's not just because I was given a platform and I felt like, look, this is an opportunity for me to prove myself. And I've had to keep late nights and do more than is expected of me, because those prior to me were probably even older than me. So I think, in summary, it's just to always give your best with the platform which you're given. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So, Damilola has given us a portion of Dio's soup. So I guess it's clear. Beyond wanting to run for office, be innovative, be strategic, build network. These are basic things that I got from what you said. Let me come back to you, Anto. So I'm going to read a couple of statistics, but just in preparing for this panel session, I did some research and I realized that we kind of have a mixed bag. You can't really say that the coming election reflects that, this is my own personal opinion, that we are moving forward in terms of youth participation. And in another breath, we can also see that there's some form of change. So let's look at some statistics, and then I would like your opinion very quickly on this. So I'll start with this. The data released by INEC for the 2023 elections shows a drop in percentage of youth candidates. A decline from 27% in 2019 for National Assembly seats, that's the Senate and the House of Reps. And then to a little over 21% now. And then for the state houses of assembly, the seats, that's candidates running for these seats, dropped from 41% to 35%. It must be said that this is happening in spite of the age reduction, the not too young to run thing that was so much loud. So if you are 25 years old here and you meet all of the other requirements, you are mentally stable, you've been educated up to secondary school, you can run for a House of Assembly seat. Now, in spite of this constitutional amendment, we still see a drop from 41% to when we had a case that people who need to run for House of Assembly was 35. Now it's 25. And it's reduced from 41% to 35%. And then for the National Assembly, it dropped to 21%. What others do you think may have contributed to this, this decline in youth participation?
Usually when I think of the decline of youth participation in Nigeria, I automatically think of Jacques spirits. I always have to mention that. I think that a lot of people who may be interested are now leaving the country. Wow. Yeah, I do. Certainly, we can definitely speak on the money aspect, but I do know for many parties, if you are a youth, there's a discount. There's a discount on the nomination form. So I can't really speak to why. I don't think it's only money that is the reason for this drop. I think there's something. I don't know what it is. I can't answer that question, but I do know for sure when it came to APC, there was a discount. I think maybe 50%. If you're the ages of 25 to 35, there was a discount for you to be able to run for House of Reps, whatever you're running for. So I can't say it's only money. I do think money counts, it matters, but I think there's something else. I think there's a national disinterest, generally, when it comes to politics. I think that people are becoming...
Sorry to interrupt. If we say national disinterest, we see that a particular presidential candidate trends almost 3 times a day, like prescription
There's
drugs.
a lot of people who are interested in supporting, but support is different than being the leader.
Okay, so Nigerian youths have moved to the point where they have they've had this revival in their spirit to participate, but not yet to run for office.
I think so. There's definitely we still have youths that are running for office, but obviously something happened. I don't think it's only money, because I do know that many parties offered a discount, just like Khadija said, many parties give you for free if you're a youth or a woman. So I don't think it's only money that's the factor that is making the decline. I don't know what it is, but I don't think money is I don't want to say that money politics is the only reason that the youth is declining.
All right, thank you. So maybe we'll stick with apart from the Japa syndrome, which you mentioned, we'll stick with what Khadija has said about how many people think the waters are very deep and murky, but you said it's largely just muddy. Haven't entered into a presidential race not so long from now. But this is one thing I want to find out from you. I'm going to read something that about your presidential campaign. So, she's not a presidential material in Nigerian context. Okay. All right. Okay. So, but one very key point I want to get out of what I was going to read, which you have debunked now, is the fact that your party put its presidential nomination form at 53 million naira. And then for the governorship, it was at 16 million naira. Then these same forms were sold in 2019 for far lower amount. I think one was presidential was 11 million in 2019. Now with this astronomical rise, it would appear that in spite of all of this, I know you said that you got the forms for free, but the same may not be the case for someone who they gave to you because you're a woman for free. So assuming I wanted to run in your party, for example, or anybody in this room heeded your advice and they joined the SDP, they would have had to buy the form for some amount of money, maybe not 53 million. So this is still an issue. And if you say that what I was going to read about somebody saying that's the reason why you were not brought into the primaries, what are the strongest lessons you've learned?
I did go into the primaries. I came second.
You went to the primaries,
yes,
and
you
came
I
second.
got the highest number of votes a woman has ever gotten in a presidential election.
Okay, so a round of applause.
Yes,
so if you came second in the primaries, one thing is clear.
You know what you read now it was a fake story, and I guess you only get those when there's a certain amount of fear around the candidates. So this was after various threats to step down, to not run in the primaries, and I refused, and then this came up. So it was just a scare tactic.
Okay, sorry, just for the benefit of those who are listening to us, so that we don't get them lost in the process. What I was going to read was something that was written by a member of the presidential screening committee of your party, which she has debunked now. And the person said they didn't want to screen you because they felt like you were not a presidential material.
My screening certificate. So what happened was, we were 2 women in the race and 1 man. And you can imagine that there will be a lot of, back and forth. So one of the women the woman stepped down. I refused to step down because I think it was only fair and only right to get, if you start a race, you end it, you finish it, even if I don't win. But the whole point is you finish the race. And that was the plan. I have supporters, I have people who are cheering me on. I'm not just going to abandon ship halfway. So we went to the end of but the whole point is that people are fearful when you actually take politics serious. And I think that's where we need to get into. We can't just be in, for just when it suits us. You have to be in and be dedicated to it. So I think that was where that came from.
Okay, so but what are the strongest lessons you took out? You came second, and for you, you are glad that you garnered the highest number of votes that a woman would get in the SDP, in an SDP primary. So for those who are listening to you, a lot of young people here, they were energized they were inspired by what you did and the energy you've even brought to this room. What are the takeaways for someone who wants to act into your advice?
Well, first of all, I think it's important that wherever I end up stopping, however far I go, people, not just women, but youth, would ensure that they carry on from there. You don't have to start from the beginning. We've got to a certain place. That's one. Two, it's important that I need us to understand why diversity is important in politics. There's this analogy I use. So we have men who are leaders. Let's put them. So you have a leader as a man who's going in front, and he says, hey, look, this is our direction. We're going southeast. We're going this, da. Okay, fine. So men are just going to walk. It's now up to the women to look back and say, okay, we're going here. Okay, this is just like in the home. We're going here. Okay. Oh, yeah, the youth, come. Oh, wait, we are going too fast. The widows, please, I need to stop. I need to pick up the people who are living with disabilities. The women are there to ensure that nobody is left behind. It's just like in the house. You make sure no child is left behind. The father would show you direction, but the women are important in politics. Because there's somebody that has to care for the people. Somebody has to ensure that every interest group is taken care of. And what we have now is we have politics, and we have parties that have kind of lost their way in terms of the fact that politics does take a toll on people. So you have people who have entered politics for the right reasons. Because it's such an uncertain game, things can happen just very, very unexpectedly along the way. What we're producing at the end of at the top of the food chain is less than par. We have people who have been through so much that by the time they get there, they've changed. They're completely different human beings. What their goals and what their dreams and aspirations are changed. So we're not going to blame them. We have to change that system whereby by the time you go through it, you don't come out a monster at the end. You have to ensure that system keeps people's sanity and keeps your dignity as you go along the way. All those things are not washed away by the time you get there. So I think that's quite important for us youth. It's important that we get into it. It's important that we do our part, because if we don't do it, nobody else is going to do it for us. And self-leadership is quite important. It's one thing. The reason why these guys are so in control of things is that when they were our age, when they were younger than us, they had to do things on their own. I'll use my father as an example. When he was young, 10, 8, he would carry oil. He would go and do his ororo kiri. He would come back. But in the night before, the day before, he had put his uniform, folded it under his pillow so that it is ironed. He had a system in place. That nobody told him he knows how many minutes he gets to walk to school. When he's in school, nobody tells him to pick government and pick arts and pick science. Nobody tells him. His parents didn't have the education to show him how to go. So for so long, they've had to make decisions of their lives for themselves. So now you have parents that tell you, no, you're going to read law. You can't say anything. So you are not in control. You haven't got to the point where you don't need permission. Until you get to the point where you say, okay, you know what, this is what I want to do. That is when you lead yourself.
All right. So self-leadership for you ranks top of the ladder in navigating the murky waters of politics. All right. Thank you, Khadija. I want to move quickly to Damilola. You would have to pardon us. We would interact with you like you are Dio, but I guess that's not much of an issue. So I want to quickly also reel out some statistics. So for the February 25, 2023 presidential and of course the National Assembly elections, the youngest candidate for the presidential elections at current is 38 years old, the candidate of the Accord Party. And then next to that is the candidate of the Allied People's Movement, APM, who she's 44. Now, the vice presidential candidate of the Boot Party is 36. And there are about 7 VP candidates in their 40s. For you, does this point to anything significant for young people in the coming years, if not in this year, given the statistics are reeled out?
Well, it sure does. And I think we're currently in a time where it presents a very unique opportunity. I mean, I don't remember when being probably the age of the average people in this room having this kind of exposure. I think we're speaking about it in the room earlier, of how much exposure we've gotten and how much do you really know. Being in government, you get to learn a lot of things. And I think one of the critical things for us is we need to be well enlightened, have much more information, which I think the current youth now have, especially with the use of technology, where you can learn so much, have so much. And to be honest, it costs you nothing to be able to get things. When I say get things done, if you really feel it's worth it, you give it your time. I know there have been issues around, oh, can I get my PVC? And people have said, are you going to wait from there till morning till evening? I can imagine if I really wanted a visa to Jakpa, I will wait there till the next day. You know what I mean? Because I know I need to get out. So it's a thing where how passionate are we about causing that change? And for me, I've always been a strong believer in, look, this whole change of Nigeria, it starts with us. You know, just yesterday, somewhere in Ikoyi, I saw my driver trying to pass the one way, and I said, no. I said, you know what, go back into the lane. And he knows I will not like that. And it shows those are the little things that matter. And I think it goes back to that person. Who are you? You know, sitting on the seats. Because let me give an example. Sorry, just to give a quick example of being in government. And a lot of the times is the seat that the people are after, not really you as a person. So what happens is that you now bring your own person to that seat, right? And you dictate the way things should operate and the way things should run. Being a head of an agency in Lagos, people say, oh, if I'm going to want to see you, I'm probably going to have to fill a form. So, for example, I have an open door policy. It doesn't mean that I'll just allow anybody come at any point in time. But one of the reasons is because you just never know who is coming to see you and where that conversation is going to go. So for me, I don't think it's anything strange. I think it's the right time. I know Khadija quite well. I'm very proud of what she's doing. And I mean, it's great that, look, you just never will be able to achieve that thing if you don't try. And the principles are still the same. There's a process. You can't shortcut or boycott or whatever it is, the process. You must start now. Thank you.
All right, thank you. That's a great place to leave it. A round of applause for Damilola. So we want to come very quickly to the audience. Members of the audience would like to get your questions. This conversation is not complete. It's not a tutorial class. It's supposed to be interactive. So we would like to get your questions. What are your questions? Or maybe some very snappy, swift contributions. So we are giving 30 seconds. You just tell us your name. And then we take that. Or are we writing? Are we going to have to write? Okay. So let's do that quickly. Okay.
Thank you for what you've been saying so far. I'm Temiloluwa. So I want to ask Mrs. Khadija, you made a statement about elitism, and some people will argue that and you probably hinted at more like intellectual elitism, right? So some people will argue that there are limits to elitism, and that could be also dangerous. Probably like even the so-called intellectual elites are also prone to corruption, bias. So what would you say to that?
All right, just hold on, please. We'll take a couple of questions together. Please, you can hand the mic over. We'll take note of that from Temiloluwa, right? All right.
Thank you so much. My name is Miriam Abdulbaki, a medical student from the University of Maiduguri, Borno State. And I do not really have a question, but I just want to contribute. Mrs. Khadija, you said something around personal transformation, personal reorientation or transformation, by the way. And we also spoke about money. So I think what I have to say is that I do not think we need more money. I believe that Nigerians are capable, and I'm a typical example. I'm just 19, and believe you me, I've engaged in a lot of national activities, like a lot, from the age of 17 after I left secondary school in Kwara State. I was part of the Kwara Town Hall meeting team. I've done a lot, and it's not money, it's what I could bring to the table. And to be honest with you, I have seen other people like that. So what we need to do is to start getting involved. Show up, show the government or the people around you what you can do and what you're capable of doing, and they would always look for you. So I believe that money is important, by the way, because to travel here, to attend programs and do all of that, you need money. However, as a youth, as a young Nigerian, we have responsibilities on our part to engage, to give back to the society, and that's by even recommending to your government or to your representative what you think can be done in your society.
Thank you very much. All right, we'll take one final one, and then we allow Khadija respond.
I want to add to my...
You will need to come back. We will need to come back to you, please. So let's give more persons in the room opportunity. Very quickly, please, 30 seconds. Just pass your point across. Your name and...
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Similain. So my question goes to Mrs. Khadija. So we spoke about...
other persons on the panel.
So we spoke about how money can be a factor. But then you said something about threats, and that's what I want to capitalize on. So you agree that there's discounts for youth to participate in politics, and you got your own ticket for free. But then how do we deal with threats? Because judging from youths that have participated in some political activities, we've seen how, to take the NSAS protests for example, youths came out, they were ready to participate in national or political activities, but we saw what happened. So how were you able to undo threats in your own political career?
Thank you. Your name again?
Timilain.
Timilain, all right. Khadija, let's just have you respond to...
Temiloluwa, right? Okay. So when you talk about intellectual elitism, it's not, I don't think, I think it's almost getting clearer that there's a thin line between different sectors of it. So I don't want us to generalize and say, we're prone to this or prone to that. The whole point is that if you're an intellectual, you always be an intellectual. And you always agree to superior arguments. So if there's something that comes up from information, new information that comes up, you would most likely be okay with uprooting the status quo or shaking it up for the information that you got. But what we have is we have people stuck in their ways. And that's why you see that succession is not coming forth. Because if you see a society where succession is not coming forth, that means they're not grooming people to be successors. So the successors must groom themselves. The intellectuals must groom themselves, yeah? Okay, so, and then, sweethearts, well done. I'm very proud of you. Keep going. The sky is a starting point. I'm glad that you're contributing. This is what we need. There's something that only you can bring to the table. And thank you. Yeah. Timileyin, well, when you get into politics, you have to have a streak of agbero in you, right? So don't get it twisted and think that it's all fun and games. And when I say that, I mean that it's not that that's what you are going to lead with. No, it's something that it requires planning. So if you're going into politics, first of all, you have to have a tribe. That means people who have shared values, shared thinking, where you say, look, this is what I want to do, this direction I want to go. They are your, what I call it, your anchors, where they know that it's for, and it always has to not be for self-interest. That's, I think, just like with any other thing, intention matters. When you're going into something, the intention you bring into it is what you're going to get out of it. So you have to have a plan, and your plan must also include, include those factors. Nobody has monopoly of violence. EBT, one person Tibere is where somebody else starts. So, I mean, total end is where one person starts. So you have to also understand that you have to keep it in your subconscious. And some of these guys, they are youth like you. So anybody that is going to come and disrupt, if you know some of them in your area, dialogue. Boys and meet with one, find a way to, we have to find ways in. We have to find ways to connect ourselves. We just have to. Yeah? All right. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. So we'll just take another round of questions, just 3 persons, and then we'll... And please, I want to appeal to you. I know that she said a lot of things, being the presidential aspirant in the room, but there's the other side of the room, please. So, 3 persons quickly. I want the lady first on the jab. Yes. Can we get the mic across?
Where is it?
At the rear. And then we'll take the man on white, and then the... Okay, where? All right, we can only take 3 persons. We don't forget that we have 2 other panel sessions, so maybe you can carry over.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Khadija, actually.
Khadija?
Yes.
Wow. All right.
Yeah. My question is, as a lady, you said something at that time that we have to be the one to, make sure that those behind are not left behind. But the question is, sometimes the confidence are always so fast to die off. Like, as a lady, you feel like, I can't get there, actually. But just the question is that, what advice or what do you think, as a lady, you shouldn't feel discouraged of in the first place when you want to attain a certain level, maybe politically or in other part of anything, Sha? Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next person, the person on white.
Good afternoon. So my question goes to Mrs. Khadija. So while contesting, did you happen to come across women in your political party that stood against you? Or was it that all the women in your party stood behind you? That's the first one. Secondly, in your party, I want to find out, do you have female persons in the executive team who have a say, or you just have just one woman who is a woman leader over women? If you have the same, how do you feel that will contribute more to women's voices? Or how are you going to work from now to see that we have more spaces for women in decision-making table in political parties? Thank you.
All right.
Okay, I'm Victor.
All right, the last, please, yes. The last person, okay, let's have this man here. I can't see the other hand. Yes, you wanted to ask a question. All right, quickly, he wants to make a contribution, 30 seconds.
So what I wanted to say is with regards to what the guy said, talking about threats. So 2019, I was yet still in Unilag, and then I held a personal campaign, Youth Say Peace, Stand for Nigeria. While I the campaign was going on, I got people telling me that, why are you running? In fact, as a matter of fact, I met with, big shout-outs to Honorable Desmond Elliott, he was quite helpful. But I met with another politician, I won't like to mention him, and he asked, like, what do you want? And I said, I'm campaigning for peace. And he told me that I should go back and think about what I want for myself. I'm not joking. So these things, I feel like it trickles down. It's from the top to the bottom. And I feel like the question went about why are the youths going, not campaigning, and then they are running around the politician and all of that. In my opinion, I feel like we have the energy. Okay, for instance, after the 2019, I held the campaign 2019. A minute. 2019, 2020, when I was hearing NSAS, I was reluctant. Because when a politician told me that I should go and rethink about what I want, I'm like, for heavens, what are we doing? So I feel like it trickles down, and then we need to have more leaders who are in power, who are passionate about the country.
All right.
That will motivate the youths.
Your name again?
Rex.
And so please, I would want you to just add a word to what Rex has said. Do you want to say something about it? And then I'll come to Damilola shortly concerning the first question.
Sure. He spoke on some youth being now disinterested because of things they've experienced, and I do think that is true. Like I mentioned earlier, I do think there's a percentage, not all, there's a percentage of youths that maybe even after the NSARS kind of felt, while some were invigorated to do more, many were pushed to the background, like, oh, our voices will never be heard. So I think that's the reason for these kinds of symposiums, for us to be able to dialogue. And of course, we're human beings, we have our fears, who wants to be shot at? Obviously, I think we need to be very realistic about that. So it's fair for someone to be afraid to want to go out and fight against our daddies, obviously. But I think this is the reason that we have all of these amazing people in this room. So like they say, each one teach one. You can go and talk to the next person and say that if you want to run for office, I'll be behind you. That's why this panel is particularly about, money politics. So we've already said that there's money involved in politics regardless. There's some form of finances. So yes, you may not be the person who wants to go out and run, but you can send that person that is running your 5K. You may think that your 5K is small, but they can use that 5K to, boost their Instagram post that says they're running for office. So, not everyone can run for office, but I do think that we, as a nation, we should all be reinvigorated to want a better country. Everyone cannot be a politician, but we can serve a politician so we can have a better government. So it's okay for us to be a little bit afraid right now, but we have to shake off the fear.
All right, thank you very much. So I guess it's clear, if you cannot find yourself a seat on the table, you can also contribute money to buy nails and the wood that will be used for building a table. All right, thank you. So, Damilola, I want to come. I know the person asked Khadija, but you would understand that it's important from your own experience. I mean, you hold a position, a parastatal in the state. I want to ask, kind of introduce a twist to what the other person said about women supporting women. It would be better a woman takes this, but firstly, from you, do you think that that's the case? You talked about having strategy, being skillful, building a lot of things, but have you seen cases where youths are the ones who are frustrating other youths, or women are doing that? So maybe that will help a bit to answering that question before we come to Khadija.
Okay, so I'll give a real life example. So when I took over the leadership in Laswa, I saw the ratio of men to women, and it was high, very high. I mean, maybe we probably had 3 or 4 women to about probably 60 men. And I knew there was a problem because obviously, one, not just because you want to color a gender balance, but I knew that you can't overemphasize the importance of women and what women bring to the team. As of today, there are 25 women in Laswa, and it was very, very intentional. And I've seen that, definitely they contribute. Sometimes as well, you have to, I won't use the word push, but let them understand that they must step up. A very critical role in my organization was business development, which didn't exist. And when I was going to create that role, I intentionally made sure it was a woman who headed the role. Even though, I must be very honest, now she's jackpot. But she had built structure. So it was very easy. When she was leaving, the person under her was another woman, is able to take in and follow that role through today. So for me, I think it's a thing of if you create the right environment, people would support one another. And that's why I believe that, women will support one another as long as the environment has been created. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Khadija, very quickly, is it true that you have just one woman in the National Working Committee of the SDP, and is like he asked, and does she have a say?
Okay, I just want to contribute. Anto and I met during the NSAS. We were introduced by, God bless his soul, Sound Sultan. And so plans and planning underground has been going on for quite a while. So I just wanted to point that out. And so women do support women, and we do support ourselves a lot. When
Seems it's the men that are not clapping, but it's fine.
So when I want to bring it out to the point where when I first declared to run, I didn't declare under a party. I declared as an independent. And that was strategic because I wasn't sure where exactly I was going to head to. So this gave me an opportunity to dialogue with every single party in Nigeria. And one of the case studies, or one of the reasons why, or some of the, will I call them, the check boxes was that how many women are in your executive, how many chieftains are there. So some parties did have a structure that included women, some didn't. And so those are some of, if you want me to join your party, you need more women. You're not just a woman leader. So I was able to influence some of these things before I decided, you know what, okay, I'll pitch my tent at the SDP. And so the SDP does have quite a significant number of women. And the fact that I lost the primaries, I have become a chieftain in the party, and I am still supporting the party. The person who won, I'm going to support his candidacy, Prince Adewale. So it's still, if you're going to build structures or institutions, that is how you start. It's not about jumping from where it seems rosy. That's number one. Number two, somebody mentioned, have you really got the answer to the question, why is it that you want to join politics? Did you ever answer the question to yourself? Because I have been asked the same question, what is it that you're really in politics for? And my answer is, I'm here to bridge the trust deficit in our governance and our politics. The trust is zero right now. So that is that is my role, is to bridge that gap. If I can do that, where people are feeling much more enthusiastic about joining politics and supporting candidates, it also helps bring out the best people out of politics and stuff.
Khadija, finally, I feel like we didn't answer the question of the lady who stood up to ask that she personally wanted you to talk about how she could go about not just politics but things in life when you talked about self-leadership.
Yes, sweethearts, Khadija. Well, the thing about it is that you first have to understand how powerful your contributions in life are from the day you were born. I think we need to stop looking at all the obstacles that are in our front, which are many. And it's not just for men. It's not just for women. It's for men as well. We just don't talk about men so predominantly because women the spotlight is on us most times. So you do have a lot of contributions to make. And don't be scared to ask for help. I was talking to a friend the other day, Isdan Egbon, and he said at some point he had to think about it. To help women was always a problem for him. He always thought, let them not say that I'm helping her because of this and that. He now thought about it, said, but all the men I'm helping, am I sleeping with them? I'm not. And I'm helping many men. So why can't I help women too? So don't be scared to ask for help, okay?
Right.
Don't be at all.
All right, thank you very much, Khadija. I'll just read this out, just to sum up everything that we've said, somewhat like an icing, and then we'll call this a day for this panel. So I want to say to everyone in the room that at current, the ADC and the ZLP offered free forms to youths, women and people living with disabilities for all elective offices. I've also learned from Khadija that the SDP did that. And then the ADC, for instance, has the highest number of female candidates running for Senate seats. 24 out of the 235 candidates running for Senate are females from the ADC. And then the House of Reps, 37 out of 533 females running for House of Reps are members of the ADC. This is just the highest number. Now, what does this mean? All through the panel, we spoke about how we can contribute, but this is institutional contribution. So we are leaving this panel just adding to the voice there, because we could have change makers here and policy makers, that it's important that we also have institutions like Damilola did at LASWA, create an enabling environment like Elect I is doing to support women, and like Adija is also doing. We must go beyond just ourselves, you running for office, but it's important that regardless of whatever the money challenge is, let's create enabling environment for young people through the actions that we take deliberately. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to say thank you very much to Damilola Emmanuel, Antoleki, and then Khadija Okonu Lamidi. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So let's rise up for some pictures. We still have 2 other panels. Please do not be in haste to leave. We'll take the panels immediately, and then we'll come back to talk about other things. Photograph, are we ready?
One more time, please, a round of applause for our panelists. That was a very heated session, quite interesting conversations, and I'm very impressed with the quality of questions that you guys asked. So a round of applause for yourselves. Can we all clap for ourselves? Fantastic. All right, remember the hashtag to use is TFP Symposium 2022, so make sure that you're always tweeting something so that other people can also follow up with the great conversations we're having here. I noticed that some people came in, mid-session. You're welcome, you're welcome. Please, can we all turn to each other? Turn to your neighbor by the right and say, hello, neighbor. You look good. Are you still with us? Sorosoke. Turn to the other neighbor and say, neighbor, are you okay? Do you have your PVC? What's your neighbor's reply? All right. We're going to quickly move on to the second panel session, but before that, I'll crave your indulgence to please turn your attention to the multimedia screen.
Oh, really? Now you go win now. Did I say you should drink? I must win this election. Don't worry, now you go win now. Did I say you should drink? The rubbish that you did the last time, you must not repeat yourself, oh, you hear? Never. If your hand touch that drink again, I will ask them to shoot you. I want to let you know. Tomorrow Saturday in the election, when I get PVC, make everybody bring their PVC come with me tomorrow. This is
is why I ain't voting. Why should I vote when it's going to count because of all these people? Exactly why you should vote. At the end of the day, it's not against them. If we do nothing, they will.
Okay. And now, ladies and gentlemen, to take us through the second panel session, it's my singular pleasure to invite a sister, a friend, a mentor. Nigeria Info is so lucky to have her. She has one of the best programs on radio. Please, let's make welcome the very incredible Sandra Ezekwesili. Please, you have to keep clapping. And clap harder till she gets here. By the time the session is over, you understand why you needed to clap for her way better and way harder.
Thank you. Hello, Lagos. Good afternoon. I really enjoyed the session before mine. So here's hoping that my own session is also going to be great and is also going to inspire everybody. So like he said, I am Sandra Ezekwesili. I'm going to be moderating our panel. I'm going to invite, first of all, before I introduce the panel, the speakers on this panel. So please help me make welcome our first panelist. She is a social advocate. She's the founder of Citizen Hub. She is somebody I admire so much, Aisha Yusufu. Put your hands together for her. Please keep clapping. She's coming from the back. She does so much for the civic space in Nigeria. She is such a symbol of resistance to nonsense. I love her so much. Please give her a bigger round of applause. Thank you so much. Interestingly, I've had her so many times on my show, but this is the first time we've actually met in real life. So it's good to see you. Our second panelist is INEC's resident electoral commissioner, or at least he was supposed to be INEC's resident electoral commissioner, but he couldn't be here. So instead, we will have somebody represent him from INEC. He is in the ICT department for INEC Lagos, Mr. Olanipekun Lediju. Where is he? Okay. Oh, it's a miss. I'm sorry. My apologies. My apologies. I hate when that happens. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good afternoon and sit. Thank you. Plenty of women on this panel. It's going to be hot today. We've got also joining us on this panel an influencer and social advocate. Some of you watched her on TV for weeks and weeks. Some of you have seen her evolve into such a huge voice for young people. Tacha Akide, welcome. Put your hands together for her. In fact, she's the main reason I agreed to moderate this panel, because I wanted to meet her. Put your hands together for her. She comes forward. All right, following up behind her is a representative for the Lagos PDP gubernatorial candidate. Actually, we have the spokesperson for the Lagos PDP gubernatorial candidate, Agarawido. Put your hands together as he comes forward. Oh, this is great. So would you prefer to sit there or here? Okay. So that I'll not be lonely by myself. All right. So good afternoon, gentlemen and ladies. You're the only man here, so no pressure, and good luck to you. So this panel, we're calling it Hashtags to Ballots, Raising the Bar for Political Participation in the 2023 elections. Raising the bar. First of all, I want to start by saying that the bar has been raised. A lot of the time when we talk about young Nigerians organizing politically on social media, there's a criticism that we hear over and over. Oh, they're not on the ground. Twitter is not real life. But if you really open your eyes and you observe what has been happening, you know that it's no longer true. You know that online activity has become offline structure. So on this panel today, we're not going to be talking about, oh, how can young people move their activism offline. What we're going to talk about on this panel today is how young people are already doing it. Now, I've got one more panelist who's going to join us right now. I'll introduce them, and then we'll kick off. My apologies, I missed out on the final person. So we have the Public Relations Officer for INEC Lagos, Adenike Oriowo. Could we have them? Oh, that's Adenike. Oh, great. Okay, so Olanikbeku is not here? Okay, take his place. Okay, great. So I was right. Okay, Adenike, great to meet you. And thank you so much to everyone on this panel today. I'm going to start with Tacha, because Tacha was such a huge voice during NSAS. Now with the campaigns, Tacha is also a really huge voice. She's a young woman. Young Nigerians have become very effective at using social media to organize street activity, you know? It's almost as if someone flipped a switch and boom, we now have like all this activity, all this mobilization, all this interest. You are on the ground, Tacha. You are a key mobilizer yourself. What do you think is behind this sudden effectiveness, this sudden takeover by young Nigerians?
Okay, so I think at the end of the day, the average Nigerian youth is tired. Like, at this point, our tired is tired, and it's not just to look at it and keep complaining every day. It's more of what exactly can we do to take us out of this steady complaining that we complain every day. And the thing is, we've woken up to never sleep again. Every day you come online, there's a conversation going up online. I know you have people saying, oh, they're just online, they're making noise. We're just online making noise, but we're going to show you next February that we're not just online making noise. We're here to actually create a change. Like we had over 8 million Nigerian youths, newly registered voters. That is because our tired is tired. Do you understand? We can't have leaders saying they love the country. You love the country, but you don't have your children sitting at home. 8 months, no school. And you want to convince me that you love the country and you love its people. We have to change you. And you can't tell us, oh, we cannot change the government. Respectfully, shut up, we're changing this government because we're tired. No, our tired is actually tired. Because young people need to understand, every time I have an opportunity to speak, I always want to urge them, because at the end of the day, don't see it as, oh, that's her thing, she likes to talk. No, it should be everybody's thing. Because you see, after God in heaven, the next is the government. One decision making can affect you. Directly or indirectly. It could be to your advantage, it could also be to your disadvantage. So what should we do? They've said so many times we are just blabbing or making noise. Yes, we are blabbing, but then we had the peaceful protest where millions of Nigerians came out to say, enough is enough of the killings. If you kill us finish, how many will remain at the end of the day? And the thing we need to understand is that, how old were everybody here 8 years ago? How old is us now? I'm 26. In 8 years to come, this strength I have, I'm not going to have it. Do you understand what I mean?
So better for you to do it now.
Exactly. We keep asking our parents, how did we get it wrong? Like, Daddy, how did we get here? We don't want our children to ask us those same questions. That's why we are not just making noise online. We're going to make that noise offline too.
I love that Aisha is on this panel, because one of the last conversations I had with Aisha was that one of the last conversations I had with Aisha was where she was telling me, see, your parents have tried, you people to go and do your own. And that was right before NSAS. So now, Aisha, the same question I asked Tacha, I will ask you as well, because you have also been at the forefront of a lot of the movements that started online and moved offline. What do you think is behind the effectiveness, the takeover by young Nigerians?
Thank you so much, Sandra, for having me. Hello, everyone. It's still okay, good afternoon, everyone. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I've been on the stage before. Whether it's this particular program, I'm not sure, where I spoke about the fact that we needed millions of people on the streets. And we're saying it today. So why did this happen? And I love what you said, our tired is tired. I mean, they keep talking about how resilient Nigerians are. I mean, they're hurting you and they're saying you like it, and that you're resistant to it and you keep going. So why is this? Answers, simple. There's no two ways about it. I finished secondary school in 1991. I'm sure you weren't born then, right? Okay. So I finished secondary school in 1991. I got admission into university in 1992. Guess what? There was ASUU strike. My first child has finished university. My second child is in university right now. Hopefully by next year she'll be finishing. What am I saying? It's the same problem over and over again, right? I grew up to see military era, my own generation. And I normally call my own generation the lost generation, because when we were quite young, we were told that only elders could speak. And then now we are at that elder level. We are told that the young people are the ones that will speak, and I'm okay with that. So let's just be that gap that they walk over and actually own the country. So my own generation, we saw what military was, and we saw how people fought so hard to have a democracy. I had my first child in 1999, so he doesn't know anything about military era, right? So he has been having his fun until NSAS. That was when they now knew that government can be brutal. It can be brutally brutal. On the 20th of October 2020, I had I think about 7 hours meeting with the organizers of the NSAS protest in Abuja. And I was saying to them, think about the most heinous thing that a government can do, and know that this government can do worse than that. Anything that you can think of. Because there are a lot of people who felt government can do certain things. So by the time NSAS happened, so for the first time, they came face to face with the brutality that government is. And so they started saying, we can't keep sleeping. That tired must be tired. And I remember over the years, within those 2 years, people kept saying that, NSAS was a failure. No, it wasn't. It was an awakening. People were emancipated. They said, Stephen Biko said that the greatest weapon of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. The moment you're able to have control over the minds of the oppressed, then that's it. Everything is done. Because the person will even tell you that, I'm supposed to be oppressed. That's why you see up to today, there are people that will say to you, but what has the government done now? The president is old enough to be your grandfather. I'm like, seriously? Nobody voted for him to be a grandfather. If he wants us to treat him like a grandfather, then he should be in the village when we come back with Dobale for him. There are no two ways about it. The moment you decide to be in office and you're occupying the office of the president, hello, my office of the citizen is higher than your office. So when I say jump, you ask me how far. Don't tell me that I don't have a right to tell you to jump. So that is the most critical thing. So I will see a situation by the time Nigerian youth became interested, and I think there was a video of mine that I did on October 1st when we went out for a protest, and there were quite a few people. And I remember berating Nigerians and saying, look, you will do 10,000 retweets online, but when you come to protest, you will see less than 100. You understand? And 7 days later, Nigerians were on the streets. So it's that, for me, it's that particular
that was the switch.
Period. That was the switch. It was just like that. You have those aha moments, you have a paradigm shift where you know that looking away, like Thatcher rightly said, after God, honestly, is government too. They can decide whether you even breathe oxygen or not. They can make that law and do a whole lot of things. So the phenomenal thing that we are seeing right now is that right now Nigerians, especially young Nigerians, are ready to occupy their office of the citizen.
That's right.
And that's why I say to you, understand, don't ever believe anybody that tells you that you're leaders of tomorrow. I was told that there's no tomorrow. Yesterday died last night. What you have is today. And you have to make those decisions. And I see a lot of people, especially my own generation, who were abused so much. And some of us have carried on this abuse, and we want to continue the abuse. That's why somebody will be telling that, oh, you were not respectful, you were not this, you were not that. Please, make una drop respect for one side. Let's interact as adults. My kids, I don't tell them that they have to respect me. I say to my children, if the only reason why you're going to respect me is because I gave birth to you, then I'm not deserving of your respect. I need to earn it. I see you as human beings, not that, oh, I'm older than you because I came to this world first. Who has time for that?
Okay,
Thank you.
let me come to, please put your hands together for her. Put your hands together for Thatcher. I told you people that this panel, we're going to need an extinguisher. All right, let me come to Ms. Aido. You're the spokesperson for the Guber candidate here in Lagos. In what way or ways is your party and campaign leveraging the ability of young Nigerians to mobilize online and offline? So mobilize online for action offline. In what ways is the PDP doing that here in Lagos?
Thank you very much. It's actually a pleasure to share the same stage with Madam Aisha Yusufo. I followed her on social media all my life. And it's actually a pleasure to seeing you for the first time. I listen to you on radio all the time. Scary stuff. I actually belong to the Madam Aisha's generation, and I just heard to my head now that we actually lost generation. But that's okay. I am not sure whether I qualified to be called a youth now, because by November I'll be 47 years old. But I actually started paying so much interest in politics in my early 20s. And this John Doe you're seeing on the ballot today is actually a job of deliberate work for 7 years. Maybe when I was 40, I can still be called a youth. But we felt as young boys then, there was a day I got a call from John Doe. I've known him forever. And he said, boy, I called you like 10 minutes ago. You didn't pick my call. I said I was trying to sort some issues with some old women that I just bought health insurance for. So I was trying to explain to them and all that. I said, you do that? I said, yes. These people come all the time to ask for money for medications and all that. So you give them 10,000, you give them 15,000. And I said, it will make sense if I buy health insurance for these people and I just allow them to go visit the hospitals and get whatever they need. And he said, that's nice. Oh. I just built a borehole for my people in Moshi. Don't you know if we get into government, we can actually do better than this? We'll have more capacity to be able to do more. And I said, okay, of course now. There'll be plenty money on grant and all that. So we joked about it. And I think it was about a month after he called me that we have so many like minds, guys that do what we are doing as well, that we should come together and start. So we started. But the results of that today is we're actually on the ballot. Whether we will win or not, we'll see that in February. But answering your question directly, now for us, because we actually took our time to look at the terrain and know what these real guys have been doing to actually win. And we realize there's a silent majority. That's the elite. The first panel, people spoke about the elites not getting involved in politics and all that. So who are the people that turn up these votes every election cycle? They are in the grassroots. So it does not matter to us whether they are youth, old or not. They are in the grassroots. And since we are in this to win, so we had a 3-tier strategy. Okay, we go for the same people, that makes the difference every election cycle. That's the people at the grassroots. Then we'll go for the youth that we call the silent majority. They're there. We keep throwing these statistics out all the time. If you look at INEC register, we have more youths than everybody. If you look at INEC register, we have more women than anybody. So how come women are not winning? How come the youths are not winning? They are called silent sufferers, like my sister said there. They're just there. You're telling them, oh, this government is not working. Our money is not working for us. And they're like, the guy built a rail now. Do you want to kill him? And I'm like, what's going on there? So for us, what we're doing offline and online is mobilizing our youth and telling them the right thing they need to hear. Because one of the major problems we have here now is the youths they have social media. They're actually getting involved in election in areas of advocacy, fundraising and all that. But they are not actually getting involved in areas of content. What exactly do you want? Now you don't like this government. What do you think you need to do about it? How can you make the electoral system work better for us? How do I mean? Now, the elections to start, the fresh election for 2027, I believe, to start immediately after 2023. The right questions. Do we need independent candidacy? Do we need electronic voting, which is where your own strength is? Now, if you make our system to allow for electronic voting today, and it's rig-proof, you can be rest assured that we are in El Dorado already. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will say that electronic voting is not rig-proof because we've seen the data all over the world, and electronic voting is one of the easiest ways to rig an election. It's why some countries in developed nations have had to revert to paper ballots, but that's not the essence of the conversation today. Now, let me come back to Aisha. There's been a conversation, lots of conversations really, about political structure, where some parties say young Nigerians and online organizers don't have the know-how to organize politically and win elections. But you have young persons, young people in some parties who seem to be crowdsourcing a structure for themselves. So I want to ask you, how do you understand the term structure? In what ways do you think young people running political movements today are building structure for themselves and for their preferred candidates?
Okay, so the first thing I would say is that the young people, or should I say youth, so young people somehow might sound condescending. I would say the Nigerian youth do not know how to build the kind of structure that has been destroying Nigeria, so that's a good thing. So because what we've had, what they call the structure, is a thing that has really been, destroying the nation as it is. For me, what I see as structure are the people. The people are the structure. It's not the building that you have. It's not anything. When the people decide that they're going to participate in election, definitely they will become the structure. And I think about like 3 or 4 years ago, I started saying we needed to, first of all, Nigeria does not need more activists. Nigeria needs more active citizens, and that's what we are seeing right now. And so about 3 years ago, I started saying we all have to be political activists. So what is political activism all about? It's about, one, if you have the capacity, run for office. The capacity to be able to give good governance, run for office. If you don't want to run for office, you can volunteer to be in the campaign of people who are running for office who have good governance, accountability, and transparency. The third thing also is to help them raise funds for those who are running for office. And then the fourth one is to hold those that are voted into office accountable. So these things are very important. So when you talk about that structure, like I said earlier, it's about the people taking ownership of what is going on. So when you said something about the grassroots, like I always say to people, we are all from the grassroots. There's nobody who I don't have a house on social media. I build and sell houses. I've never built one on social media. I actually build them on physical ground. So that's every one of us. When we leave our Twitter, Facebook, and whatever, we all go back to our houses, and we have connection to what is happening in our villages. One of the things that people do not understand is that the stopgap, a lot of elites are the ones who are the stopgap for government. But unfortunately, they do it without requesting for anything. Once in every 4 years, politicians go to the people, and they do have a quid pro quo moment. Give me your vote, I will give you certain money, right? After that, who is the one? Who are they calling to say, I am sick? My children, their school fees need to be paid. This, that. It's, you and I are the one taking all of that on. But we never speak politically to people. We never talk to them, what are the choices they are making? So for the first time now, we are having more elites pay attention. A lot of people do not realize the relationship between governance and their lives. And then there are a lot of more people who are not educated. I always say that democracy without education is a disaster. I'm going to relate this all to the question you're asking. Democracy without education is a disaster. And that's the reason why a lot of people deliberately have broken our educational institution into a place whereby people are coming out, even when they have university degrees, they are not educated. And so beyond the people, there are people who are literate, who collected their certificates but left education back in school. There are people who never had the opportunity to be in school. So I always say to everybody, for the education that you have, it's not for you alone. It's for millions of other people who have not had the opportunity to be educated. And so we all have to leave our sanctimonious thrones and come down and meet the fish seller in the market and let her understand the relationship between governance and her life, the relationship, the father, her child that she has worked so hard to send to school and have finished university and hasn't gotten a job, that it is not village people that have denied the child the job. It is not enemies, as we are being told. It's simply because the government is not doing the things that they're supposed to do, and so there's contraction in the economy, and then there are no jobs available. Even the little jobs that are there, people are being thrown into the unemployment market. So when you connect all of this dot and people begin to do that, that's the structure. And that's what we are seeing right now. We see a situation whereby the citizens of the nation have actually woken up and they've occupied their office of the citizen and they're putting in all the work. And they're going everywhere to reach out to people and then create this structure, this so-called structure that is needed. One of the things we must never take away is the role that money plays in politics. A lot of people, there's no how you're going to, politics is not a love affair. I think someone wrote a book and said, love does not win elections.
That's right.
So I'll quickly round up on this. You need money. So money is one of the things that they also call structure. And that's why I say to people, we must put our monies where our votes are. If you sit back and do not donate to candidates, for example, your friend that is running for office today, if we expect that he's the one that will bring his own personal money to run for office, and then at the end of the day, when he gets there, he has to recoup it. It's no longer this politics, it's now business, one way or the other. Whether you're doing it ethically, legally, or whatever, you'll be looking for ways to do that. Or otherwise, what now happens is that if he doesn't win, and then it keeps on going, the next time he will not be able to participate. And so what we've had with the situation whereby we left only the politicians to bring their own money to run for office is that people with credibility, people who have served and have been incorruptible, they are not able to participate in the political process because they do not have money. So when we bring our monies, every one of us here, by the time we put 100 naira together, we'll have something. But by the time we put 1,000 together, we'll have something. And we're able to donate it to people who are running for office. What will mean then is that it is not those people who have stolen our collective wealth that will continue to perpetuate themselves in office or perpetuate their stooges. Because that's what we've been having. And so when these people get into office, that's why they're not loyal to anybody other than the people that brought them into power. And that's why you see one person will be that, very important. So when you have in the structure also, there's also financial structure, which is what we are seeing right now. A lot of Nigerian citizens are out there using their own money to do rallies, to do a lot of things without waiting for the candidate or any candidate. That is the kind of thing that we're going to see, that we want to see. And by the time these people get into office, guess what? He knows that it's not his money that took him there.
He knows his own people.
It's exactly, and so it has no option other than to give that good governance, accountability, and transparency.
Thank you very much. Now, like I said, for this panel, I didn't want to dwell on young people are just online because that's a lie.
that story has changed. And so if you notice, the question I've been asking is, well, how are young people doing it? The purpose of asking the question like that is so that the young people in this room can see how other young people are doing it, and then they can decide, okay, this is where I'm going to plug in. This is where my services will come in handy. This is where my skills will come in handy. I'm going to come to INEC next, Adenike. You helped oversee voter registration here in Lagos. We kept hearing from Festus Okoye that there was an increase in younger voters, especially thanks to online registration. Did you see a similar increase here in Lagos?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for having me. And I would like to say this first. The resident electoral commissioner could not be here. He's out of the country on official engagement with the INEC chairman, and he sends his regards. Concerning the question you've just asked, well, very true, because in the last CVR exercise that we had over 71% of the new registrants as youths. And it is so interesting because it shows the awakening in the population, particularly the people the people we're calling youths. And it's obvious that the dynamics are going to change in 2023. But I would like to borrow something that my commissioner normally says, and that is the youth like to have things very, very easy. Our generation, we just like to sit back, tap on our phones, and get whatever we need. Even if it's possible to serve your food on phone, you're going to get it. But I'm not saying that we're all evolving in technology. But what we're saying is we have 71% of the newly registered voters as youths. Are we sure we're going to have them come out in February to vote? Are all these 10 million Twitter followers that we are all seeing all over, are they all going to translate to vote? I mean, what is the purpose or what is the value of having, let's say, a candidate having 100 million followers and possibly 70% of them are youths, and then on election day he's having less than 500,000 votes? Does it make sense? Imagine in Lagos State in 2019 we'll add less than 1.5 million votes. We're in a state where you have over 6 million voters, registered voters.
So
what does that translate to?
So let me ask you, Adenike, why do you think that's happening? Why do you think that you have these young people who have registered to vote? Registering to vote means they are interested.
Yes.
It means they want to do this thing.
Yes.
Why do you think they don't come out on election day?
Yes, that is what I think we should get back to.
What's your data showing you at INEC?
Well, the data is showing that they are registered. But first of all, are you coming back to get your PVC? It's a different thing to register.
Are they?
I mean, we have 71% of them on the register.
Are they coming back to pick up their PVC?
But are you coming out? I mean, let me give you an instance. Right now we have over 900,000 cards, PVC, from 2019. And for those that registered between June and December last year, we have well over 60,000. You will be shocked that from that lot of last year alone, that we just have just merely 60,000 plus, only 24,000 has been collected. And let me bust the bubbles a bit. My commissioner called a meeting with the electoral officers from the 20 local governments in Lagos State. And at the meeting, he was like, how do we get people? We can't just stock up these cards in our office. How do we get people to come and collect these cards? I tell you, we have been doing lots and lots of sensitization, lots of voter education. I mean, it's just in this last 1 month that I've had a rest.
What's the information? So here's the thing, right? As an organization,
yes,
INEC has been conducting elections my whole life. Mm-hmm. INEC has been conducting elections Aisha's whole life. INEC has been conducting elections Idowu's whole life.
Yes.
I have to believe that there is data that INEC has that tells INEC, well, this is why, even though we have this number of people who are registered to vote, these number of people do not come to pick up their PVCs, and on election day, this number of people do not come out to come and vote.
Yes, that's what I'm getting to.
What does the data say?
The thing is that why are they not coming to get this card?
You're the one that will give us the answer now.
Yes, because that's where I'm getting to. And then we went on this meeting, right?
Okay.
And you'll be shocked. We made the effort to call people to come and collect their cards. Your cards are available. Come and collect them.
And they simply don't come.
And they'll just say, can you post it? Can you send it?
Well, can you?
We can't.
Why not?
Because the law doesn't permit that.
Okay.
But you know what? That's why we are having this conversation. Mm-hmm. I think this generation have to show more interest.
Okay.
Not only...
Calm down.
Not only to be followers.
Okay.
But to be participants.
Okay.
And participants, you have to have the tool that you want to use.
Okay.
Without your PVC now, you cannot vote.
Okay.
You cannot access the PU.
Okay.
So why not have the tool that will make you access the PU?
Okay. Aisha wants to respond.
Yes. So I just want to quickly say something. So so on the question that you asked on why people actually don't go out to vote, even though they collect, for those that even collect their PVCs. So number one thing is the fact that, you know, your PVC is one thing that you don't need to pay for, and it doesn't have expiry date. So for some people, it's a means of identification and nothing else. So they collect it. Anything you want to use, your driver's license or international passport, you can also use your PVC, and it comes cheap, no expiry date. If it's defaced or anything, you go back and get it fixed. Yeah? So that's one. Another thing also is the fact that people do not believe in the electoral process. You know, you said something about a lie just now. There's a lie that you usually used to fly before. I think in the last 1 year, it's no longer that where they say votes don't count. And we used to say that if votes don't count, why are politicians paying for votes? So you see, that was a big lie that was sold to a lot of people. So people did not believe in the electoral process because they feel that even if we go to vote, that, the result, they will sort of like do the usual mago-mago, and then they will rig it. And thank you. Say some of us will go night schools. English, they fail us sometimes. No. So thank you. So that's another thing. And the other one also on the issue of collection of PVCs, like INEC, they can't post it, like she said, it's not in the law. And then if you post it, it gets missing. What now happens? Whose address are you posting it? Our houses, they can't get there. We don't have postcode. So that makes it very difficult. So
we are used to it. This is Nigeria, not Canada.
to people to say, come and collect your PVC. Because I can tell you, there are a lot of people who have registered. They thought their registration, some of them have forgotten, and they are registering again, which is actually a crime. Registering more than once when you already have registered. And then they are coming to do that again. So that's also something that can be looked at. And I think there are a lot of people that can actually work with INEC to be able to ensure that it's free on INEC's part, so that they're not having to use money from their budget. So the last one also that I want to say is the fact that because there are no credible people running for office, it keeps a lot of people away. With the new Electoral Act, what we saw was the fact that primaries have to be finished, and there's enough time for people to actually be able to collect their PVC. So when certain candidates came out that people loved, they went on the street to collect their PVCs.
Right.
Previously, what we had, it was just, there was never a time.
Right.
It was just a few weeks to election. By December, primaries are done and all of that. So these are some of the things.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, before we continue, please put your hands together for our panelists. I'll come back to you, Adenike. I'll come back to you. Before we continue, we have a young lady. She's wearing glasses. She has pink slips, and she's going to be moving around. If you have questions for my panelists, please pick up a piece of paper from her, write it down, and we're going to take as many of the questions as possible. I've not heard Tacha's voice in a bit, so I want to come back to Tacha. Adenike, I'll come back to you as well. Missy Do, I will also return to you. For those who just joined, hi, welcome. You are just in time listening to this panel set up by the Future Project. I'm Sandra Ezekwesili, the moderator for this panel, and we are having a conversation about hashtags to ballots, raising the bar for political participation in the 2023 elections. Tacha, do young Nigerians trust INEC to deliver a free and fair election?
I asked Tacha now. I mean, they're already answering, like, we can hear them answer. But for 2023, I'm very positive that there would be a difference, because we've seen it play out in several different states. Do you get what I mean? We've seen, like, elections where young people are saying, you know what, after voting, we're not going anywhere. We're going to be here to actually count the results with you guys. So the thing is, we would have to compel INEC to do the right thing next year, because we're ever ready. No, that's the thing. If you say people are not coming out to pick up their PVC, send them SMSs every day. If you have to do it, send it. Yes, exactly. If you have to send them SMSs every day for them to go get the PVCs, do it. You have to do everything in your own collective way to see that we get it right next year. Because I don't think the only people that is okay with this system are the people benefiting from the system. If you're not benefiting, you should not be okay. Because you name 5 things that is working and working so well in Nigeria. Somebody can wake up tomorrow and say, you know what, this my girl, I'm selling 15 naira. I want to sell it 200 naira. And nothing is going to happen. Like, we just have a country where it's almost like a jungle. We just wake up, sleep, wake up. There are no policies. Like, there's nothing being done to see that the average Nigerian youth or the average citizen gets it and gets it right. Or at least they are okay. In a country that should be their own. In a country where, it's only Nigeria I have. I don't have any other country. So I must actually see this country work.
I have to ask you, Tacha, in what ways do you think young people, the youth, should be engaging with INEC, with other stakeholders to make sure that the process is fair next year?
In what way they can do what? Like, make
they can
sure
engage with INEC to make sure that the elections are free and fair next year. How can they engage with INEC? How can they engage with other stakeholders? The police is a stakeholder. How can they ensure that the process is fair next year?
First off, we've done the right thing, which is going to register. Secondly, we have to go get the voters card, the PVCs, because we need to cast in our vote next year. And like I said, it happened in some other states in Nigeria. After voting, we're going to wait there to make sure that you guys are actually counting. Like, nobody's going home. We all have our phones. If anything fishy is going on, people are going to pull up their cameras and record it. So, like, I don't know, but social media has shown us the lights. Social media has made it very clear that it's not going to be business as usual. Like, next election, no fishy nonsense is going to go on. We are going to see it. We're going to record it. I will post it online for everybody to see, like, enough of the ignorance. It's more like you people know what is going on, and then you come and then you act ignorant with us. But the thing is, social media has opened up our eyes. If you're doing something wrong, we're going to record it. We see you giving somebody 500 naira to do it. We're going to record it. I will post it, like, everybody is going to see it. Since you don't want to have shame, we'll feature that your shame and make you shameful.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it's. Do you get what I mean? Like, some people cry at home. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, from being Nigerians. Like, do you get what I mean? You're outside the country and someone is like, oh, where are you from? Oh, I'm from Nigeria. And they say, oh, I don't want to come. I'm scared I might get kidnapped. And then you hear me saying, oh, it's not in all cities. Like, we're tired of all of that. Do you get what I mean? If we have a working system, a lot of Nigerians will not be jabbering. It's because we're scared. You have a lot of people scared. A lot of things are not working, not the healthcare, education. It's almost like the leaders are making deliberate actions to see Nigerians poor. So at the end of the day, they can use you as the structure. The structure is the people. Do you get what I mean? We are the structure. When they say structure, they steal our money. They want to give us that money and tell us we have to vote for them. And no, we're saying no to all of that. 500 naira will not keep me for 8 years. 10 million naira is not going to keep me for 8 years. So as you're coming with, sorry, we can take the money, but we're still going to vote in our conscience. Okay. We can take the money, we're still going to say, this is the person we want, and that person will come into office.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me come back to Adenike. Mr. Do, I'll come to you. Just keep that thought. Adenike, you wanted to say something when Aisha was speaking.
Yes. Just like you said, the voter apathy that we have in the youth is not only, is about the youth having to decide to wanting to perform their civic responsibility. I think we were talking backstage with Tonto and we're saying, I think we should go back to catching them young, going back to our schools whereby we can teach our students their civic responsibility, knowing from a young age, even before you attain the age of 18, that you have to be up and doing, to be patriotic for your country. And no, like Mrs. Yesufu said, the voters card is not just, I know majority of Nigerians use this voters card for just a means of identification. Normally, your PVC is not something you should bring out every day. It should, to be sincere, it should be brought out once in 4 years that you have to vote. And if only the process that Professor Jega planned has worked out, I don't even think we need the PVC. The plan of Professor Jega, when he introduced this technology, he started introducing technology in INEC, was that when he introduced it in 2020, was that by 2020, we would have gone through with the national identification system, whereby you as a Nigerian, you don't even have to start queuing up to get PVC again. Once you show your national ID, your information is there. We know that you're of age to vote. But where are we with the NRN? This is 2022. So it goes back that we have the choice to decide our future. Now, 2023 is too late now, but we have 2027 and we have 2031 to go by. We can start advocating for that. Let's all try and get our PVC. Like I said in Lagos, we have over 900,000 PVC lying in our 20 local government offices. These PVCs are for somebody.
There are accusations that some people come to collect their PVCs and they're turned back. Or the staff say, oh, you're from a certain region, we're not going to give you your PVC. What do you say to those allegations?
Well, I cannot say that happened in Lagos. Because,
no, in Lagos.
Well, give me, if you can give me the local government, I tell you the staff or the official will be dealt with. Because these are issues. During the CVR, we dealt with a lot of issues. And like I always say, whenever they call me or they call my commissioner, I'll tell you, do you have an evidence? Not an audio evidence, a pictorial evidence. To show me the staff. Because I will tell you, I can identify at least 80% of all INEC staff in Lagos State. And I can tell you, once you show me a pictorial evidence of the staff misbehaving or having a misconduct, then the staff will be dealt with.
Okay. Put your hands together for INEC, please. All right, Mr. Ido. Now, I have questions in my hands, and my good friend is winking at me that our time is almost up. But I do want to hear your thoughts. You've heard so much on this panel this afternoon. What do you want to contribute?
Okay, yeah. I had this discussion backstage with the respected ladies from INEC. That's speaking to why are people not picking their voters card. And I told them that, see, there is we have a lot of faulty foundation. We've been made to believe we are 22 million people in Lagos. I doubt that. I don't think we are up to 22 million people in Lagos. And you know what population does to federal allocation? People generally inflate the population so that more money could come to their states. So if you believe you have 22 million people in Lagos and they are telling you 7 million people actually registered to vote, it starts to make sense to you. But let's start from 2019. Now, INEC said 6.5 people registered. 6.5, yeah, just approximately. 6.5 people registered. 5.5 turned up to pick their PVCs. And right from 1999, 1.1, 1.2 million people always turn up to vote in Lagos. So the question is, fine, all the reasons given for why people are not picking their PVCs on this panel are valid. But the thing is, are you telling me that the 4.3 million people that don't turn up all the time actually exist? Is that what you're saying? Because the moment INEC improved on their system in 2019, we started finding a lot of unused voters card on the roads and all that. People disposed of them because they couldn't use it again. So the point I'm trying to make here is the INEC register is actually overbloated. In 2015, PDP returned 1.2 million votes to Jonathan in Port Harcourt, Rivers State. In 2019, the same PDP returned 423,000 votes. They lost 900,000. Are you telling me that 900,000 voters, because APC's own actually moved from around 45,000 to 215,000, are you telling me that 900,000 voters became indifferent? Are you telling me that 900,000 voters left Port Harcourt or Rivers for another state? So I think INEC still needs to go back and look at the register post-2023. They've improved on the technology. It looks a bit cleaner now. We have 560,000 registered voters, newly registered voters in Lagos. And the projection is about 50% of them are going to come out. Then we are not even sure that the 6.5 million we had before, 50% of them are going to come out. So INEC should go back and look at that. Then the second one is speaking to what youth can actually do to make sure this election is actually more credible. Youths need to get involved. You see, it's the ideas you put to work that work for you. Now,
But youths are involved.
Okay, yeah, youths are involved in some aspects. When I say get involved, now on election day, please turn up. Turn yourself into an election monitorer. Be there. Make sure the votes count. We've seen that happen in Osun, and it's worked in Osun. So we have to give INEC credit for what they've done in Anambra, what they've done in Ekiti, and what they've done in Osun. We cannot keep telling INEC to keep calling us on weekly basis. What's the problem? Go out there and get your PVC. It's a matter of life and death. Election is a matter of life and death. When you allow the worst of you to take the position of authority, they will make laws you must abide with. That's why you are home for 8 years and our youths have not done any, for 8 months rather, and our youths have not done anything about it. We have a labor minister that kept picking fights with the ASU guys. Not until the speaker got involved that we're beginning to see a kind of headway. So our youths you don't need to be spoon-fed. Get involved.
Get involved. Put your hands together for the spokesperson for the Guber candidate here in Lagos. Okay, let me come to the audience. We've got Ibrahim here. Ibrahim says, on the refusal to collect PVCs, have you ever considered linking PVC to other essentials like BVN and NIN? If you don't have BVN, you don't have an account. If you don't have NIN, you can't register your SIM card. So do you think INEC should link the PVC to these documents?
Well, that will be a policy decision on the part of the commission to take. But at the same time, we need this civil society to advocate for that. Because INEC cannot just decide to do some things because of the law, the guiding laws. So we need the civic society to push for that, just like they push for the Not Too Young to Run and the amendments in the Electoral Act 2022. They can also push for that, and then it will be sorted out.
Okay. We've got lots of questions for the INEC official. Is it possible to register and get the PVC on the same day, just like it is done in advanced countries?
Well, it is possible. It is possible. But because we are just evolving and the Electoral Act has not permitted that, we cannot allow that now. So it will still be, you come, you register, your data will be processed. Just yesterday, the chairman already said that we are done with the cleanup of the register for the just concluded CVR. So I'm sure by the end of this month, stroke early next month, we start receiving the PVC that have been produced, and then we start telling people to come out to collect, because the PVC for January to July 31st that it ended are just going to be produced. So it is possible, but it's not something that INEC can just wake up and do like that.
Yeah. Okay. We've got Miriam Usman who says, this is for Tacha. I do believe social media has done a lot of good and bad at the same time. How have you been able to strike a balance in expressing your civil rights to the extent of advocacy and your use of social media? This is also a question for Aisha, but I'll start with Tacha. Most youth, I think, use media for mostly entertainment now. Tacha? The question is, how have you been able to strike a balance in expressing your civil rights to the extent of advocacy and your use of social media, I guess, for entertainment?
So basically, I'm not just doing the talk, but I'm doing the work. I mean, I'm out here right now having these political conversations to enlighten myself and enlighten you as well. The thing is, if we are patriotic as we say we are, we're going to do everything possible to actually see Nigeria work, even if it means going out on the streets to rally, even if it means waiting, even if the INEC officials tell you, go away, you're still going to say, no, I must get my PVC because I need it next day. So we have to be very resilient. And about striking a balance, the thing is, how do I put it? Like I said initially, my tired is tired, so it means I will do everything possible. As long as the will is there to do it, I would do everything possible to actually see that we have a working system.
All right, thank you. Aisha?
Thank you very much. So before I get to that question, quickly is for me to say on the issue of this over-bloated register, it's really something that we need to look into. And just a quick example is look at, that's one of the reasons why we are unable to recall people in the legislative arm of government who aren't doing the right thing. That's because right. You need 50% or above for you to be able to recall them. And most times you find out that the people that voted them into office are not even up to 20%. But when you need to recall them, you need to get 50% of the registered voters. So that's part of the things that the legislative arm of government does. One of the things we normally ignore is we ignore that part. We focus on the executive arm of government. The legislative arm of government is actually the bedrock of democracy. They make laws, they have oversight functions, and they also hold the executive accountable. So if we vote incompetent people into office, they can be able to make laws. And one of the laws is, for example, we have a situation whereby it is no longer 50% of the registered voter that should recall you. It should be 50% of the people that the win that you had, 50% of the people that voted you in. So if 200,000 people voted you into win, then 100,000 people should be able to recall you, and more should be able to get you back. So that's one of those things there. On the issue of also where you say, oh, citizens should know that the things that they're supposed to do, Nigerian youth should come out there and do, we need to understand something. The first set of dictators we had were our parents. Nigerians were brought up being told that they can't have a voice, you can't speak. If you speak up, you're a stubborn child. I know the number of beatings I got just for asking questions and say, why? Why do you want me to do this? Aisha, don't go here. Why? All I needed was simple basic explanation. Or the reason why we don't want you to be here is blah, blah, blah. Give me the information, then I'll be able to make informed decisions. So we've not had that with the way people were brought up. So what simply happened is that when people grow into adulthood, they simply replace their parents with government. And so they don't know how to fight back, how to do any of those things. So we will have to be mindful of that. Also, the young people, like you said, they want things easy way. Yes, it is. Why should somebody suffer? Why should I suffer to get something? My son was very angry when he did his registration, INEC registration in 2019. He spent up to like 6 hours on the queue. And he was like, but Mom, why am I doing this? My friends, because he schools in England. My son has been in the UK since he was 14 years old. He's dyslexic, and that's a learning disability. And in Nigeria, you'd be called Olodo. He wouldn't have done anything. So we had to take him to UK at the age of 14, and he enrolled into a school for children with learning disability. Today, he's a graduate, but if he was back here in Nigeria, he would never have been a graduate. And there's so many children out there who have the same condition, whose parents don't have money to send them abroad. And that's what Thatcher is talking about. We need a Nigeria that works for everybody, but not just a few. I'm going to round up quickly, Sandra. So, and he said, why is he having to queue when his friends, they just get a mail that says, fill this thing. They don't stand in the snow or anything, and they get what they want. So that's another thing. In terms of social media, yes, social media it's a replication of life. When people say social media is toxic, I say even life itself is toxic. There's nothing that is happening there that doesn't happen in real life. There's nothing that is being done today that wasn't done during our time. The only thing is that ours were not documented. There are so many mistakes I made as a young girl that another person making the same mistake again, they will document it and the internet keeps it forever. But I've been able to forget my past, and then I keep going, and then sometimes I'm sitting here talking as if I've never done anything wrong before. And so that's the way, life goes on. So what normally happens is that we must understand that social media has democratized media.
That's right.
It has forced the government to interact with you. Unlike during our time when it was 7 a.m. news, 9 p.m. news. That is it. They will tell you what they want to tell you, that's it. But right now with social media, you are now able to participate and be able to tell the government, this is what I want you to do. This is what you should do. And then, or you just start an issue and it goes on. There's something, when you're talking about public policy, the first set of public policy, the first step is agenda setting, which we have turned into a bad word. They say, oh, she has an agenda. Of course now. There must be an agenda. And that agenda setting, that's what happens with what you're doing. You make it an issue. Then when it becomes issue, that is when other people take it on. Then you begin to see that policy formulation, policy legitimization, policy implementation, then the monitoring and evaluating, right? So what you do with social media is that take control of the narrative. Sit down and say, what are the things like the question that you asked on election, what can young people do in terms of going into election? Hold INEC accountable. Use your hashtag. It's very powerful. Whether they like it or not, when you keep talking, because it's been democratized, nobody is going to come and close you down. Even when they tried to shut down Twitter, what happened? VPN. We simply activated our VPNs, and they were forced to listen. So you can use that to set the agenda on the table. Wake up in the morning and say, what are the things that we want INEC to do? Start a hashtag. Imagine all of us in this room. Every day we do 10 tweets on a particular hashtag for like a month. Before you know what's happening, it becomes a trending issue. When it becomes a trending issue, what then happens? INEC is forced to do something. And one of the things about this election, and I'm very okay if you don't allow me to speak anymore, I just need to put this out. One of the things about this election, let me say, that it's so powerful and it's so different. One, we have a new electoral act. That electoral act is amazing. There were a lot of people who said the president will sign it.
It is.
But he signed it. And the day he signed it, I said, President, chop not cool. You don't do something. You do something. When President do something, we will praise her. When he do anyhow, we will call her out. You understand? It's amazing. And it gives so much power to citizens. So that's one. The second thing with this 2023 election is that we have a president who is no longer running for office. So there's no power of incumbency.
That's
right. So that gives us advantage as citizens of this country to ensure that we get that the kind of result we want for 2023. The other thing is what I call the president's nuisance value. The president, like we do, you see, for the first time, you know, when the president said he's shocked, we actually saw his shock during the, what was it that they did, award ceremony, when he was looking at So the president has something, you understand. He's one person who is self-absorbed. It's all about him. So right now, he doesn't have any stake. Did any of you watch the primaries, the APC primaries? Yeah. You saw how the guy literally just started. He was just having fun. For me, I believe that's the way he's going to sit through this election. So that issue where they use that power of incumbency, where they try to use the security states, he might not be done. So let's be able to use that power, and so that we now have that a free and fair election. And then finally, INEC. I think this is the second, your chairman, this is the second term. And he'll be looking for a legacy, right? Can we pop that under him to say, hey, you will still live here. Before you, there were INEC chairmen. After you, there will be INEC chairpersons and chairwomen. So sit up and give Nigeria a legacy. Ensure that you're doing the right thing. So even if he doesn't want to, by the time you keep that hashtag sending that message, he too will begin to think it, I want leave. And then finally, also, I said finally before, right? So sorry, this is the finally. The president also doesn't have a legacy. He doesn't. The only place, and we have like how many months to go? So the only place where he really can get a legacy is through this electoral process. Right. So you see when he went to Onga, he said something about he wants to give Nigeria free, fair, credible election. Right. He has done the first part, the Electoral Act, amazing. So can we begin to subtly, there's something that when somebody does not even want to do something, you put the idea in his I've been married for 24 years. I know how to do that. You just drop the idea, you go, waka, you go, then the next time the guy will come, you go, the form saying an idea. Meanwhile, I put it. So let's put it in his head to say, at least, Presido, use the free, fair, credible election to be able to have bragging power, so that when you and your mate are talking in the next X whatever, you'll be able to say, shame me, I do this. So let's begin to send those ideas and ensure that we get the kind of nation we are looking for. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Aisha. Thank you so much, Tacha. Thank you so much, Mr. Dawu. Adenike, I have a final question for you from the audience. This person says, like Aisha said, the reason why I got my PVC is for means of identification and not entirely to come out and vote, because I don't know, or I am not sure it will be safe to vote where thugs can come out and scatter everywhere. What is INEC doing about providing security at polling units?
Okay, just a quick one on that. INEC has a committee that we call Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security, ICES, where that committee is set up to strictly manage both the pre-election proper and post-election process to provide adequate security. So I can assure you that there will be adequate security for every voter on election day. And just to touch on something briefly, the overbloated register. I want to say that we are all here having this conversation, but I think a major thing for us is that we have to be informed. And when you have the right information, you will be able to take some actions. We are all shouting overbloated register. I did not put those names there, neither did my colleagues. People came out to put down those names. And there is this process we call claims and objections after every vote registration process. I'm not sure any of us is aware here. Because you are actively involved. But if you ask majority of my sisters and brothers here, do they know what we call claims and objections? That is where you have the right or the opportunity to come out and say, no, this name does not exist on my street. This person does not live on my street. This person is dead. No, this is an underage voter. But do we all do that? No. So the register will continue to be overbloated with names. I can't imagine, I lost my father in 2018. I can bet you that his name is still on the voters register. Because people that are living, I don't live where he lives, but people on the street or in his environment have not even come out to say, I know, this man is long dead ago. So I think we should all be informed about the electoral process. Let's be actively involved. If we have to fight, go on Twitter, go on Instagram, or whatever platform we want to use. Let's be rightly informed as to the procedure. If it's something you have, don't let anybody shut you down. You have to know your right. Like Madam Yusufu said, that this electoral act that we have now is a very, very, in fact, I think it's one of the best things that the president has done for Nigerians. Yeah. If you can go through it, I have a copy here. You can see I even worked with it. That's not the fact that I'm an INEC official. Because you can't even get through it. At times you have to go through to confirm some things again. Yeah. Let's all be acquainted with it. You can download it on your phone. So that you even know the dues. You know the election procedure on election day. Now you are saying your votes will count. The beautiful thing again is that we have electronic transmission. Ekiti,
was a very good example. Anambra was a very good example. Oshu gave it all out. Electronic transmission. Even when you have the forms being altered, it has been posted online. And you know, to pull down anything online is a bit, because you don't know how far it has gone before you even pull it down.
That's right. That's right.
So I think we should all try to get involved, try to get informed, and try to participate. Don't just sit down at home. On election day, so many of us take it as public holiday. That's the day you see some people that have never played ball before. They will come out and be playing ball.
On the streets.
I mean, in Italy, it's an offense for you not to vote once you have age. In Italy. So don't let it all be laws. Let's try to be patriotic. We as young people, I mean, when this beautiful lady was speaking the other time, I actually had to turn my back. When she mentioned that age, she said she's 19. I'm 42 years old. And when I was 19, I dare not even come out to say I'm doing something. No, but she has the energy now. So why can't you? Don't wait until you are 25. Don't even wait until you are 35 or the day you want to become a governor. You can start from being a councillor. You don't even know. The people as councillors in your areas, they are not better off you.
Okay.
So please, let's try to get involved. Don't let's just make that noise on social media alone, be followers. Participate. Collect your PVC. I tell you, I can assure you, for those that registered and they are not double registrants, their cards are available, and the ones that are not available, they will be available very, very soon. And you can there is no distribution of PVC. We have collection now. So please try and make time. Don't say when they call you that or you get a message that your card is ready, you try to give unnecessary excuse. Please come out.
So we're completely out of time. My people are saying no. But I will say thank you so much to the ladies and gentlemen who have sat this panel. I had a great time hosting this panel. Please remember, 2023 is important. Elections have consequences. If you don't vote, you are voting. If you don't vote, whoever wins is who you voted for. If you don't want the person that will win to not win, come out and vote for the person you don't want to win. And between now and then, protect social media. I'm saying that as somebody who works in traditional media. I know how it is in traditional media. If it was up to just those in traditional media, there's so much that you will not know is going on, because the government continues to try and say, oh, don't heat up the polity, don't incite the public. So protect social media with every last drop of your blood. With that said, thank you so much for sitting on this panel. Put your hands together for everyone here. Let's take a picture. And then I'll hand you over to Hero Daniels. Thank you so much to the Future Project for doing this. And let's take the hashtags to the ballot in 2023. I'm Sandra Ezekwesili. I'm going on air in a few hours. Thank you.
So I know that we're pressed for time, but please, we have one more session. Please remember your indulgence to please sit down. I promise you in the next 30 minutes maximum we'll be done with the session, or less. So please, I'd like to pray for your indulgence. We're not done with this event. So please, let's all sit down. And in the next 30 minutes, we will wrap up the event as quickly as we can. Thank you very much for your cooperation. And thank you very much for your understanding. And now, please turn your attention to the multimedia screen. We have a very important video from Enough is Enough, Nigeria. Thank you.
Here we are, looking into the future of our Nigeria, a country filled with abundant talent, energy, and creativity, ready to embrace a new era.
But we also face a looming climate crisis, the economic impact of the pandemic, deepening insecurity and inequality, and the need to govern effectively for the benefit of all Nigerians.
Let us imagine the next few decades and shine a light on 4 possible scenarios, the challenges and the great opportunities laid ahead.
Fire on the mountain.
Nigeria chooses to keep things as they are. As insecurity and other challenges intensify, will a youth-led resistance rise, or will they simply be crushed?
Which will Nigeria?
Nigeria uses innovation to address security and diversify revenue, but it neglects governance and issues of identity. Will Nigerians live under a surveillance state or fall into cyber warfare led by a tech-savvy opposition?
One chance.
Nigeria is hijacked by tech giants. Tech delivers some wealth at the cost of freedom. Will Nigerians relinquish control, or will the people embrace a hard reset and encourage a million flowers to bloom?
African giant awake.
Leveraging its people's talent for innovation, Nigeria taps into global trends to build a thriving economy, transform society, and accountable governance while leading Africa.
By painting these scenarios, we recognize the challenges on the horizon, taking them on with dignity and courage, because the future is ours to imagine, and we must all be a part of the solution.
And as a constructive guide to a flourishing 21st century, we propose 5 pillars of transformation: building a culture of innovation, catalyzing the green economy, leading Africa, building trust, and finally, facilitating a national narrative. Together, we can make a difference.
Take action. Join the movement and visit ImagineNigeria.ng today.
Alright, that was a video from Imagine Nigeria, and now we will take the video from Enough is Enough, Nigeria. And that video was an explainer video of our current WhatsApp bot. If you have been given this, it's called the Officer Still Passport. As much as you know, you have the regular passports that the division of this gives you. You also need this as well to get to know your responsibilities as a Nigerian citizen.
especially towards entering the elections. So the World Staff Boards have been created for citizens to engage, so that you can know where to vote, where your polling units are, and things like that. It can relate to you like a person. And we are trying to get feedback from citizens before we actually launch. So if you want to relate with the bots, this is the number that you need to save on your phone and interact with. If you have your phones with you, just dial 017006381. I'll take that again. 017006381. So interact with the bot, and if you have any feedback to give us, any glitches or anything, you can send an email to syebot@eienigeria.org. Thank you very much. All right, thank you very much. How are we feeling? Are we excited? Are we still excited? I can tell our energy is down, but we love Nigeria. If you love Nigeria, make some noise. Okay, I just had 2 woos. Can I have more woos? If you love Nigeria, make some noise. Okay, the woo has increased, right? Hello, sir. Sorry, on the glasses. English is really hard. Hello, sir. Are you with us? Do you love Nigeria? If you love Nigeria, make some woo. Fantastic. So what I'm trying to do is that I want to make sure that you guys stay with us. This is the last panel session, and it's very important that we end on a high, okay? The first 2 panel sessions were really incredible. I love the engagement. You guys were engaging. It was fantastic. Please, let's bring that same energy to the 3rd panel session, all right? Without further ado, it is my singular pleasure to invite our panelists. I'm going to introduce the panel session properly once they're on stage. So please, these people, they are our family people. They are our family members. And by our family members, I mean that there are you and they are you and we are them. We're all brothers and sisters, right? You get me? So please, with all of the energy, with all of the love, I would really love you to appreciate them as they come up stage. Can we do that? Can we do that? Can we bring our energies up? Can we do that? I can't hear you from the back. Can we do that? Fantastic. All right. Now let me get very official. You know, it's a panel session. So, yeah. So, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, for the final panel session, it is my singular pleasure to invite a legal practitioner and the managing partner, Grace Crest Attorneys, Titilola Akinshola. Please, a round of applause as she comes onto the stage. Also, we're very happy to have with us the Special Assistant to the President on Economic Research and Data Analytics. No other than Somkele Awakalo. You know, I told you our village people, they are here with us. You can see that. Thank you very much. We'd like to thank our panelists for, any place you can, we have a lot of seats. Feel free. Okay. So like I said earlier, this is the 3rd panel session, and it's very important for us to end on a high note. Khadija Bello was supposed to moderate this, but I will be standing in for her. All right? My name is Hero Daniels, and I'm very happy to be moderating the 3rd panel session. And we're going to be talking about Let Us Imagine Nigeria, a new blueprint for the future. So we're going to do something real quick. This panel session is supposed to be very interactive. We're not going to wait for the question and answer session before we start interacting with you. Top of your mind, when you think of a new Nigeria, what comes to your mind? So if I point to your area, just mention something that comes to your mind. What Nigeria do you want to see? What is that one thing you want to see in Nigeria? So can I get an answer from this session? Just shout it out. I can hear you. Good roads. That's great. Good roads. Security. We've got good road security. Who else? No chorus answer. Can one person just answer one? What else? Pardon? Good education. What else? Job opportunities. So you've given fantastic answers. In 2016, I traveled to South Africa, and one of the essential power banks and a lot of iPhone chargers. And I got to South Africa, and subconsciously, I already took the power bank when I was going out because if my phone runs down, I'll be able to charge it. Or maybe the place I'm going to, perhaps there might not be electricity because I've been in this country all my life. So subconsciously, just subconsciously, it happened that I had it at the back of my mind that I would have a need to charge my phone, and it's possible that there wouldn't be power. But all through my stay, there was constant electricity. I've also been to several other countries, and I didn't have a need to pack, a power bank, right? So what am I trying to say? Sometimes there are certain things that affect us psychologically that we now perceive as normal, that we no longer understand, or it's not part of our DNA to know that there are certain things that are anomalies. So somebody said good road, another person said security, another person said power, and all of that. So if we can imagine all of those things, we need to make sure that we can constantly picture the future that we want to feature. If not, we're not going to have the necessary momentum for us to actually take actions and make sure that we get it right moving forward. In 2021, I think one of the areas that I think we got right in the country is the area of technology. About 1.7 billion out of the 4.2 or 4.9 billion, I'm not quite accurate right there, of the monies that came to Africa, about 1.7 billion came to Nigeria specifically. So you see the likes of Paystack, Patricia, we had a lot of tech startups. And we are just imagine if this is the Nigeria that we have, and this progress that we've made in the area of technology translates in every other sector. What kind of Nigeria can we have? So I'm going to quickly just start with Titi. Is it okay if I call you Titi? You know you're a legal luminary, so I have to accord you the respect, but she's okay with it. What is the Nigerian dream? In America, it's centered around freedom, justice, equity. In Europe, you see that they have a more communal style. Well, let us start off with what is the Nigerian dream, or what should the Nigerian dream be?
Thank you very much for having me here. Thank you very much. The Nigerian dream, as Imagine Nigeria exercise would like to teach, or would like to posit, is a Nigeria we can call home. You know, we've heard it said over and over again that if you go anywhere, if you relocate anywhere, it's still not home. Nigeria is our home. It's our place. You know, we saw what happened with Russia and Ukraine when the war started. People were taking their citizens from wherever, and Nigerians had to come back home. Home. In Nigeria, we can call home. Safely call home. Where there's security, you know you are at home. You travel on the road and you're not afraid to travel. You go on, you do whatever you want to do, school, education, you have it here. You don't have to travel out for education. You don't have to travel out for healthcare. This is home, where you can get everything you want, where you can be safe and prosper, where you can work and then you get profit for your work, and then you build it. I think that's just the simple sentence I'm going to give it: Nigeria as home. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Somkene, I think we have enough mics. Just check if that's working. Fantastic. All right, so can you also tell us what the Nigerian dream should be?
I don't think I can tell you what the Nigerian dream should be. I think, let me just rewind. So basically, the video we're watching when the light was down is a trailer video for the Imagine Nigeria project, which I was a part of. There's a whole report out that's seeking to chart the course of the future of Nigeria in the next 30 years. We're not propositioning, or we're not prescribing. We're trying to start up a conversation. And part of the conversation that we're trying to start up is this idea of what is the Nigerian dream. If we were to go around here, we can get 5,000 different Nigerian dreams. However, what we actually need to do is we need to facilitate a national narrative. We need to craft that together. What we need to do is that we need to, they were speaking about the national honors, yeah? about the president and the look he gave some person. But that occasion itself is so important, because what we need to do is that we need to build a pantheon of national exemplars. If everywhere we look in Nigeria, we don't have exemplary people, already you start losing belief in yourself. So the reason why in America they can have equity, fairness, justice is because they have the likes of Abraham Lincoln to look to. They have those kind of people in their annals that actually show what can become of you if you're in Nigeria. So I think it's very difficult for you to ask me what the Nigerian dream, but I think together that we can craft one that is fit for purpose.
That's fantastic. Please, a round of applause. I like the fact that you've stated that it's a collective responsibility. We all have to come together and craft what the Nigerian dream should be. One of the issues that bothers me is the wrong narrative people have of Nigeria. Now, if you've had the opportunity to travel out of this country, I think I've stated it more than 2 times, but subconsciously you're treated in a certain way just because of where you come from. So first you're battling with the color of your skin because you're a black person, and then you're also battling with the fact that you're a Nigerian. You go with your Nigerian passport and there's a stereotype on you. They judge you even before they know you. And even when you watch the media, especially international media, Nigerians are doing fantastic in different sectors, but it is when a Nigerian prince, quote and unquote, a fraudster, takes money from an old woman in Chicago, that is when they are going to put it out on, this Western media. And even in Hollywood films, we've seen where the Nigerian character has been portrayed in a certain way. So how has that affected our narrative, and what can we do about it? How other people perceive Nigerians and Nigeria as a country? Somkene, yes.
So first and foremost, I think we are what we say of ourselves. So a lot of times there are people, so I work for the government, that's why you see everybody in the crowd is quiet. But they were in support of Aisha, Yusufu, and Tacha. It's fair enough, I understand. But you have to remember that the government is about to be over. I'm about to come back to the other side. So it's not a situation where it's you versus the government. That's the trust deficit that exists. Of course, there are some people who are carting away money in cahoots with termites and elephants and monkeys and the entire animal kingdom. But there are still people like us who actually work hard and who actually want to realize in Nigeria that everybody else has. So whatever FX issue that is going on, I'm feeling it as well. Whatever, when they take light in your house, they take light in my house. I also say, oh my God. So the actual thing that I'm going to try and speak about in order to change the narrative is the trust deficit. First of all, government is not a monolith. It's not an intangible. There are human beings that work there. So what needs to happen is that we need to start trusting each other on both sides of the divide. So whether you're a member of government, whether you're a citizen, we need to be able to say that, for instance, if the federal government comes out, or your state government or your local government comes out and says, we have this policy we are doing, the first thing that Nigerians are going to say, in fact, some of my friends are here, and they know me well, we're always arguing. Once I say, okay, the government is doing conditional cash transfer, they say it's a lie. Somebody has chopped it. But, so, what you're essentially doing is that distrust is going to, so if we know, not we, but if some people know that you're not going to believe, they'll chop it anyway. But if you're going to be there, just like you're saying on the election day, you're going to stand there and monitor. When they say we are doing 2 billion naira in conditional cash transfer, there's a whole list that must be printed out. You go there and look at it. So essentially, I think in terms of the narrative, we first of all need to build that trust, which is one of the recommendations that we have in this report. Secondly, we need to not be so negative about ourselves. So for instance, this is going to be a controversial thought, but it's my own personal thought too. It's not the thought of the government. I don't think that migration is that bad. Because essentially what JAPA is migration. What that means is that on the flip side, when you migrate, if things go well for you, you're going to send money back home. It's not, have you ever seen where a whole family migrates together? Hardly. You're going to leave your dad at home. You're going to leave your mom at home. You're going to send money in in the form of remittances. Remittances is a way of getting FX. We're having an FX squeeze right now because money is not coming in. They are doing whatever they are doing in the creeks. Oil production is down, so remittances. Secondly, there's knowledge transfer. If you look at all the tech companies in the world right now, most of them are headed by Indians. Do you know what that means? That means the flow of knowledge back to India is going to be beneficial. So if a lot of people jackpot, hopefully not everybody, but if some people jackpot and you go and become the head of Microsoft, it's going to benefit us. You're going to bring your head office here. You're going to bring something. So I just feel like when we're spinning the narrative, we also need to be saying some positive things. There's always a flip side to it.
Okay, so talking about that particular flip side, I'm going to ask you a follow-up question. Yes, you have stated the advantages and the possible, like you mentioned, FX coming into Nigeria and also the knowledge transfer. But if you want to compare it to, the impact in terms of having the brain drain, so most of our professionals leave, especially in the medical sector, and now you now have people that are a bit underqualified to handle this. I know a lot of hospitals that you can only find one specialist of that particular area. You know, they only have one specialist. And a situation whereby only that particular one specialist travels. And then imagine in other sectors, and we have all of these amazing people, talented people leave the country. The impact on the nation, the brain drain, you understand what I'm saying? And also, on the flip side, let's also know that for people to go there and then they occupy certain positions, the percentage of people that would travel abroad and sort of get into good positions for them to be able to help the country in terms of their knowledge, it's quite small compared to the people that are traveling just for greener pastures. I know a lot of Nigerians, they have to do a lot of menial jobs, and they don't have the opportunity to actually climb the social ladder in the country that they have migrated to. So how do we now balance this?
Okay, so I'm not going to theorize before data.
Okay.
Data is my own currency, so you have to show me the number of people who have left, the jobs that they are having, and because what you're saying is that most people are doing menial jobs. I don't have any data. And the problem is that it's dangerous to theorize without data, because when you have the data, you skew it to your theory that you had existingly. So I'm not going down that angle. In terms of the brain drain, I feel like I'm going back to the report because that's what actually I'm here. One of the recommendations is that we need to build a culture of innovation. And what that means is that we need to have a national agenda around innovation. So what that means is that you don't even need to be, I'm not advocating for this, I'm not a doctor, but I'm just saying for like petty illnesses, if you have internet, you can really like look on YouTube and stuff. I know I'm an economy, not doctors. Okay, let me take it back, let me walk back, edit it out of the live stream. But things like, I learn a lot of like YouTube, for instance, like I'm an economist, and a lot of the economic theory you're always learning and things like that. I just feel like there's so much. When I was coming up and I graduated, I'm not going to say my age, but when I graduated, there was no option for me to be a social media influencer. There was no option. People in that time were not blowing from music. So I don't see many people that in the music career jackpotting. Well, like they're all here because they know that there is a good structure. Obviously, you need to do better. Yeah. But like Berner and David and all them guys, they're still here. So definitely, in terms of the medical profession, we're seeing a lot of that, like people leaving. We're seeing a lot of people in IT. But there's also work being done on the other side. And I think that the solution to that is like just building a culture of innovation, because with innovation, you don't even need to leave. You can, if the Zoom works and you can do some kind of distance learning, you don't even have to go to England to do your studies. Yeah. If you have a culture of innovation, you can do telemedicine. So you're here, you're being a specialist, but you're working in Kent General Hospital.
Yeah.
So essentially what I'm saying is that you can still realize your dreams
while you're here,
but we need to all just make sure that we're building a culture of innovation.
Okay, fantastic. Please, a round of applause for him. Also, I think I would also add to what he said and also offer a disclaimer. So when he was citing an example and said you can maybe have a headache and Google it, please don't try it. Because the last time I Googled it, it was showing me 1 billion sicknesses. And I began to, when did I have gonorrhea? How? So please, he was just citing an example how you can actually learn stuff off the internet. I learned how to play the keyboard just by watching YouTube, all right? But do not self-medicate. That's not what he was trying to say. We're going to quickly go to the audience because of time. But while you're getting your questions ready, Titi, very quickly, he mentioned innovation. So without great policies, innovation cannot thrive. You know, the government can come up one day and decide that, you know what, we're going to ban cryptocurrency for the best reasons known to them. And then for some person that has carried out this innovation in the cryptocurrency markets, at that point it might be a challenge, right? Even though that on that particular issue, we now move to what do they call it again? Peer-to-peer exchange. We found a way around it. However, it was a bit of a challenge at the initial stage. So while Nigerian youth need to be innovative, how can we formulate policies that can support that innovation?
All right. One thing we should understand is our power. We've been saying it over and over again, the power of the people. The theme for this symposium starts with people. Before any policy is out there or signed into a law or into passed as a law, it goes through processes. And then we have to actually participate. We have to be on the lookout for any of these bills that are placed before the House, you know, so that we can understand, okay, this is what is going on. And it happened during the PIB, it happened Electoral Act. People were actually involved. So it's the same thing. We should pass this awareness into all the categories, all the spheres of our interaction as Nigerians. As any bill is coming up or as any introduction of any policies coming up, from the very beginning, we start questioning it. We start, okay, why the intention of that law? We start questioning, why are we bringing up this law? Why are we saying this? The same thing for the Imagine Nigerian report, because we had to consult more than 300 people in different spheres of life. Why are we thinking this way? Why do we want it this way? So these ideas, the thoughts of people, they were put into consideration. And then that was how these scenarios and then these recommendations were put forward. Not just because some people came together in a room, it was a collective effort. And then this collective effort, we are trying to make it broader. Sorry about that. We have been trying to make it broader so that everybody can participate, knowing that this is our Nigeria, this is our home, this is our country, this is something we need to do together. So the same thing with policies. Before any policy will be passed into law, before any policy will be entrenched into our system, we question it, we push it, we ask questions, we try to know the intentions. Then that's when we can boldly say we are Nigerians, because any policy we see out there, it's actually us. You know, we did it, we wrote it, either by your negligence, either by your participation, either by your nonchalant attitude. We actually did it. So it's actually for us to come together and do it, to participate effectively so that we can get all these things done. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you very much. All right, the floor is now open for your questions. We will be taking questions now. Okay. Do we have any other? These two people, they've been asking questions all through the sessions, right? Amazing stuff. I love it. But can we take questions from some other people real quick? And we'll still get back to you guys.
Good afternoon.
Yes, please introduce yourself, your name, and then you can ask your question.
My name is Ibrahim. My question is about JAPA. Let's say, for example, we have 6 geopolitical zones, and CBN employs one person from each geopolitical zone. We know the people that JAPA mostly are from South, Southeast, and Southwest. So let's say these 3 people, they decide to JAPA to Canada. Then the people from the North decide to stay back at CBN. 20 years later, the people from the North, they are now governors of CBN, while others went to make money in England. Then they now bring their business back home. So the people from the North decide to make policies that make it harder for those people that went out to make more money in Nigeria. How do you think we'll be able to cope that since we are leaving the country to the people from a particular region and we are going to make money outside?
Okay, so let me be clear. Your statistics is hypothetical. Okay, let's clarify that. Somkele?
Thank God you clarified. I don't know whether people that are leaving are from south, east, southwest. I don't work in the airport. What I do know is that just as much as people are leaving, people are coming back. I was in England for 11 years, and I came back myself. Not because the thing about it is that if you study migration strategies and migration patterns, unless things get super critical, people are ready to suffer and die where they know. Because when you go abroad and it gets to January and February and March and snow comes down, you realize that, man,
home is home.
Home is home. Or when it's time to go to the restaurant and they give you one kind of jacket potato like that with one egg, no pepper, you start thinking otherwise. But on a serious note, I just feel like I'm not into tribe or region or all those things. I'm not really here to talk about that. However, you make a good point. If a certain demographic or a certain geographical location, backed by data, your own data, if they go somewhere and there are certain people that remain and things are skewed in 20 years, 30 years, hey, can't really say much about that. However, what we're trying to encourage is we're trying to say that if every single person, the thing about Nigeria, the thing about it that is funny is that we can say, Yoruba man this, Igbo man, but let a Ghanaian insult Nigeria, you see the collectivity.
Or football.
Or I can't remember what happened somewhere and all the Nigerians came together. So essentially, these divisions are superficial. Deep within us, we all want a Nigeria that works. So how do we use our skills? How do we use our voices? How do we use fora like this where we can disagree amicably? I feel this way, you feel that way. Essentially, we just need to have a conversation. How all this activism started is because somebody somewhere said, you know what, I'm tired of police brutality. And that stirred people to say, oh, I don't want this, I don't want that. So the only way we can make changes and how we can improve security, how we can improve the economy, is if we actually join the conversation and if we actually start to speak a bit more positively about Nigeria, because you'll be surprised. People are listening to you, say Nigeria is nonsense, is this, is that. Investors will be like, oh, really, it's nonsense. Okay, I'm not coming. So without knowing, there's some kind of cyclical arrangement with what you're saying.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, can we have the lady? Can we have the lady by the left? Please introduce yourself and your question.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. So I'm Ira. I'd like to ask this question to the people on the panel right now. So we're talking about reimagining Nigeria. We're talking about, all of us participating, becoming better citizens. I'd like to ask, the report you have presently that you spoke about, is it digitalized? Can people go online and easily click on it to find out more? Can people vote? Can people talk about it using so apart from social media, just a link, like what we see Global Citizen doing? Like Global Citizen focuses on encouraging people across all borders to participate in policies that affect the lives of people across the entire communities, countries, and all of that globally, right? They use entertainment and all of that, but they also have an app where you can go and vote and do so many things, include your voice. Now, for example, what you have there in paper, do you have it, digitalized that we can also interact in that way? Then also, what is being done for the layman, for the everyday individual in the street? Because it's all nice and cool, sit down here in the AC and, feel nice, hear you, and feel gingered, right? But the everyday man and woman on the streets, they're not here. They're not a part of this conversation. They're probably not on Instagram or on social media. How are you reaching out to them? Some of them, majority of them, would probably not be able to read what you have in that paper. So how are we reaching out to them to also be a part of reimagining Nigeria? Because the percentage of people that can understand this conversation and be a part of this conversation, let's say 20, 30%. Then the others, the people that are in the streets, I want to use what he's saying, is example of a certain amount of people in Jakwain and the rest being here. Now that is the majority. How are we reaching them?
Okay, you were looking at me, so I'm assuming you were asking me.
I'm looking at both of you.
Both of us, okay. Just the first part of your question, there's a whole website. It's www.imaginenigeria.ng. And this report is available for you to download right now as we speak. As well as that, we have toolkits. So the whole point is that we're starting a conversation. And it's not my duty or your duty to have a conversation about the betterment of Nigeria. It's all of our collective responsibilities. Because what happens is that you have to be able to say, this right here is nonsense. Then from there you progress and say, why is it nonsense? How can we make it better? What are the things we individually need to do? Because what people fail to understand as citizens is that you also have civic responsibilities. Yes, the government needs to do theirs for sure, but the citizens need to do that. And part of what you need to do is to vote. If somebody comes in there 4 years, is a lackey and behaving anyhow they like, get back to the ballot box. The moment that the politicians in Nigeria realize that you can use your PVC and you're ready to use it at any time, everybody will sit up. So on the government side, we have our own responsibilities, but citizens also have a responsibility to have conversations amongst each other. Without going into any names, we can feel it bubbling under the surface that there's a lot more conversation going on around the elections coming up next year, because we understand, even in writing the report, that we're at a pivotal time in history. In 2020, we sat at home, some of us for 6 weeks, some of us 9 weeks, because a black swan event happened. Some disease came and forced everybody to be at home. Climate change is also like that, which is why we need to consider the green economy. So when we're thinking about the future 40 years from now, 30 years from now, I know I may not look it, but in 30 years, I'll be like 62. Yeah. So essentially, I'm also part of the discussion that we need to have in 30 years. 30 years seems like it's a long time from now, but before you know it, it's 2050, it's 2060. So we all just need to have those conversations. In fact, what we actually want you to do is download the report and disagree. But when you're in disagreeing, you have to be proffering another solution. So it's available. We're also holding Imagine It events. We've had one in Port Harcourt on the green economy. We had one on narratives in Abuja. We're going to Maiduguri on the 26th of October. If you can't make it there, it's also going to be online. So we've taken all these things into consideration. Like Titi said, we had conversations with market women. We had conversations with subject matter experts. We had conversations with the vice president. We had conversations with a whole slew of people that got us to this point where we thought, okay, these are the 5 recommendations that we think. However, it's up to us to carry on those conversations.
All right, thank you very much. I think we're going to take 2 more questions and then we end this session. And by the way, when you mentioned the next 30 years, people were busy calculating your age. Oh, in the next, okay. You're a family member now. So can we take just 2 more questions and then we'll wrap up the session? Okay. Go ahead. Please give him the mic.
Hi, my name is Chucky. I'm not really a family member. I'm more than a family member.
Fantastic.
But my question, I mean, we have these conversations, so sometimes I want to have them, out here in the public. I mean, I see this, I typically wouldn't come, but I'm very impressed with what I'm seeing, the things that, you guys have put together. But the one question about Nigeria, and I'm sort of, using this as an example, is how do you now, you've put all these things together, you've started the conversation. How do you track it? How do you know if progress is really being made after? Like, I've not heard anybody talk about that. So you have this fancy book and the fancy websites, but how do we know if progress is being made? That's my question.
Titi, do you want to take that? Okay.
You know by the actions. We started from, as is mentioned, Imaginate events. During those Imaginate events, we had conversation. We had people talk. We had sessions, breakout sessions, where people put ideas together. And then the toolkit, as I mentioned, the resources are out there. Take those resources, go to your different communities, start up however you want to do it. Some people have ideas. Some people have brilliant ideas. But how? How do they implement these ideas? We have this implementation kit or this toolkit, these resources on our website. Take it, use it, implement it, and then you see from your community, from your area of influence, your spheres of influence, you start seeing all these actions. These by actions, actually. Then you start seeing it. Apart from the social media engagement of the hashtag, and then we start following up, you start seeing actions. You start seeing people. For instance, now the national narrative the emergent event that we did in Abuja, we had people going to their different students. They went back to school, started their organization, started their little groups, and then trying to sell the national narrative. Okay, this is what we want to say about Nigeria. They're trying to tell the story, the Nigerian story, in a different way, in a positive light. So we see actions. So I think it's by actions.
It's not a government project. It was an initiated by government in partnership with UNDP. But essentially what we want to do is that we want you to be aware of what's going down. We have sat down and we've done the work. This work started in 2020. So it's only just coming out. So it's an extensive amount of work that has been done. And what we want you to do is, Chuck, you're a CEO of an oil and gas company. Yeah? What we want you to do is we want you to look at the recommendation on the green economy. You believe that we're going to be creaming up from oil for the next 30 years. We're saying not really. You need to go and you need to green the entire value chain. We need to have a green agenda whereby we're using more renewable resources from input to output. If we look at it now, what we want these conversations to be is that right now the world is transitioning to electric vehicles, but the West doesn't have the raw materials for the batteries. The lithium, the copper, all those things are going to come from Africa. How do we as Nigeria position our mining industry in such a way that we have the autonomy? You guys are coming to beg us. Exactly. We are seeing where we are going. So we are taking that initiative. And government can take some of the initiative, but the private sector needs to look at it, and you need to look at your business, or you need to look at your career and see, okay, with the way robotics and AI is going, am I still going to have a job in 30 years if I'm doing Excel? With SQL, with Python. So when you get the reports or you get the recommendations and you look at the way the global trends are going, in terms of migration now, is migration going to continue the same way it is if we continue doing remote work? I know some people who have not worked in an office for 2 years, but they're working, getting paid every month. So what we need to do is that we're not trying to track the progress of what our report is doing. We're trying to say, this is the reality of what's going down. How can you use the insights we have gleaned to help yourself and to position Nigeria?
Fantastic. All right, so we'll take one final question. One final question. I know I promised. Can we give the lady amongst the two? No, I think I promised. Oh, okay, she can have it. Okay, that's fine. One final question and we wrap up the session.
My question is to you, ma.
from what you have been discussing since, as a deaf person and person with disabilities, so we have been participating in programs and we have the hearing people not standing by us. So we, as persons with disability, we have been suffering. We are not being carried along. We engage ourselves in rally and we see protests here and there. And we see that people are being encouraged. But as a person with disability, talking about we exercising our own voice, there's no one uniting their voice with us to carry us along to make the government to be aware of our own plight as well. So my question there is, how would we be carried along whenever we are talking about progress or development? Thank you.
And before they answer the question, I think somebody in the audience had said something. How can we reach out to the market women? How can we reach out to other members of the society? Well, I'm happy to inform you that we are already reaching out.
This is an example of what you just did. This an interaction. This is it's most times the engagements might seem lopsided, but be rest assured, the organizations standing in or representing people living with disabilities, they are not resting on their laurels. They are very, very, very active, especially in the government. You see them every day. In fact, some of our imaginative events, we see them, we welcome them, and it's not, it's a collective effort. We are all Nigerians, so it's the voices of one person, the voices of, that ripple effect is there. We are listening, we are trying to, as I said, it's a collective effort, it's a collective experience, it's a collective interaction. And thank you very much for that. It just shows that we are in this together. It shows that we are all Nigerians and we are working together. Thank you.
Just to add to that, I think that inclusion of all sorts is very important, irrespective of gender, ability, or disability. I think that part of the learning that we have is that a lot of us need to have more sympathy and empathy. Sometimes some of the reports and events are catering to a specific demographic or gender. So it's very important that you are lending your voice and contributing to this, because now you can go and have a conversation with your own community and say, and also part of our job is to take on board this kind of feedback. So we're very thankful for that. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. We've had such an amazing time. Please do not forget to follow our Twitter and Instagram at Y_monitor. You can also follow at TFA Africa, at TFA Africa. On Facebook is Y Monitor and the Future Project. And remember, the hashtag has been and will still be, for your post pictures and your feedbacks, just use the hashtag TFP Symposium 2022 so we can easily locate it, and of course we can act accordingly, because every single thing we've done here today will be published in a white paper. So it's not just, we're not just coming here to sit together and just talk and no action. There's definitely action afterwards. Please drop a feedback through the QR code. So I'm sure you can locate this paper. Just open your phone camera and scan this, and I'm sure you'd get to the page where you have to give us your feedback. Thank you so very much. Before we end this session, I would really love us to end it on a very creative note, yeah? So we're going to collectively do an advert for the Nigeria that we want to imagine. Earlier on when I started the session, I had asked, what Nigeria do you want? So a lot of people mentioned 24-hour power supply. Somebody said education. Another person said good road. So to end this session on a high, once I do my hand like this, I need you guys to do a sound. Just do bam. You know how you watch these Hollywood movies or Netflix movies and they're about to do the trailer, all right? Don't worry, it's going to be fun. So if I do my hand like this, just do bam. Are you ready? Are we ready to imagine Nigeria again? Are we ready to reimagine Nigeria? Are we ready to picture that future that we want to feature? Are you ready? All right, let's go. A country. Okay. No, the bomb is short. It's not a long bound, it's a short bound. All right? So can we do that again? A country that we all want, filled with new possibilities, good roads, 24-hour power supply, electricity, education, inclusion for everybody, every gender, every community. Staring from the stables of Imagine Africa comes this blockbuster, A New Nigeria, starring you, me, the government, the people, marketed and distributed by Amaco Investment Limited. Imagine A New Nigeria, only on, I wanted to say Netflix, but it's not our own. So which one should I use? Which one is our NTA? Or Africa Magic? Okay, DSTV. At least that one is our own. So which one? NTA? All right. So we'll do the final bang. Imagine A New Nigeria. A New Nigeria. Only on NTA. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming out. We appreciate you. We love you. God bless you. My name is Hero Daniels. It's been a pleasure anchoring this. God bless you.